Why, hello everyone, and welcome back to another live stream. I'm your hosting guide, Zollin Ironshield, here on Voice of the Rings. Hope you're all having a great and wonderful day in Middle-earth. I'm getting into the mood, guys. We even got a gauntlet on, just one. It just helps me feel ready to talk about medieval, no, about Rohan. All right, guys, so welcome back, everyone. I just thought, this is so much fun. It's so much fun. I don't know what it is. Now, again, this isn't really a very real gauntlet, but I don't really, you know, it's fine. It makes you feel like you're wearing armor, and it sounds cool. Yeah, even though there's so many things wrong with this from a realistic perspective, but that's okay. It looks cool. What's up, everyone? Let me bring up the live chat. So today, our goal is, okay, we're going to have super fun, and we're just going to talk about War of the Rohirrim. I want to hear everybody's thoughts on it. I want us to have a fun time in talking about it. We can agree on things. We can disagree on things. We can agree to disagree on things. I want it to be really fun and chill, okay? So I want everyone's opinions are welcome, and whether you loved it or hated it or somewhere in the middle, because there's a whole lot of stuff going on in all our brains as viewers, right? And lots of different degrees at which people like or dislike something. So that's what I want to do. I want to see how we can do it as community day to have fun talking about this stuff. I will kind of be like, I'll try to be objective like the moderator to an extent with talking and reading what you guys are saying, going, okay, interesting, you know, that kind of stuff. And then I'll say, oh, I'm going to give my opinion on this, right? I'll try to go back and forth kind of like that. Kind of as the host and guide as usual. So we'll have a lot of fun. And then partway through, if we're still just chatting and stuff, I may bring up LOTRO and do some dailies while we talk about it more. All right? So you guys have something fun to look at while we talk about it. All right. So with that out of the way, my friends, how are you all doing today? Let me bring up the chat so everyone can see it. There it is. Interesting. Hold on. That's more like it. All right, refresh that real fast. All right, let's say hi to everyone. Hello, welcome everyone. Lord Kev, greetings. Inkling, greetings. Hello, hello. All right. Plum Bottom, hello. I love that's such a great name. It just makes you think hobbits. Hello, Salty, welcome back. There's no wrong takes, okay, guys? I just want to make everything clear, all right? Everyone is entitled to their opinions, okay? So there's really no wrong takes, as long as we're being respectful. That's all I care about. Be respectful to each other, you know, that kind of stuff. Be respectful to me or whatever. But, you know, besides that, you can have whatever take you want. Thunderstruck, again, I will tell you, and I'm not going to be ashamed, I really liked it. But that doesn't mean I don't want to hear opinions of people who didn't like it, right? Or people somewhere in the middle. I want to hear what people have to say. And then we have Durin. Hello, my friend. Welcome, Durin the 7th. Lord Kev the Elder. Yes, yes. I'm glad you're here, Thunder. Interestingly enough, we have two people who have said a lot of comments on my other videos. Thunder, I love your comments. I love everyone's comments, by the way. I try to read all of them the best I can. And I try my best, because you guys have similar icons and names, that helps to remember. All right, so with that, let's get straight into it. I really, really enjoyed it. I have my full review video. It's, I'm not gonna lie, it's a little bit long. I wasn't really expecting to make it an hour and like 25 minutes or something. But I really enjoyed making it. So if you guys want to check that out another time, sweet. But again, a lot of the stuff we're going to be talking about in this stream today. And if you're watching this later as a video, I also want you guys watching as a video later to leave your comments. I'd love to read those too. I will communicate with you guys later with those through comments. The comment section down there. And also, I got a lot done yesterday. I got my Christmas performances done. We're almost at Christmas. I'll say Merry Christmas early, but if I don't see you. But we are going to do a little Christmas party thing on Sunday night my time. But for some people, that's going to be really late. But it's just how it had to work out. But yeah, we're going to have so much fun today. All right, let's see. Let's start with, let's open it up with talking about, what were some of your guys' favorite parts? Like just don't take away anything you disliked or liked at this, like breaking things apart. Let's start with a more positive note on like, what was your favorite part if you really liked it? That's what I'd really like to know. So I'm going to read a couple of these things out here. Let's see. Thunderstriken. Oh no, Thunderstriken. Thunderstriken said I got pulled over by a cop a long time ago during the Battle of Five Armies Hobbit because I was ranting over the love triangle. LOL. That didn't happen with the War of the Rohirrim, thankfully. That's funny. During 7th, I saw the movie on Friday and spent the last couple of nights watching the Two Towers. I didn't realize how many striking close-up shots Jackson loved to use. Yeah, it's true. It's true. There's a lot of spots that when I was watching the War of the Rohirrim, I was like, oh my gosh, they animated it just like what they did for the modeling in the live-action one, right? Like, again, a lot of times, you know, it was really well done, guys, but like a lot of those were sets. They didn't really build the full-size Helm's Deep in the movie. I'm sorry to break anyone's bubble, but it's done so well with the modeling from far away and then the close-up scenes that you just don't even practically notice. But that's the trilogy. We know the trilogy is the glorious 11 out of 10 practically, right? Sure, it's got its things too, but it's amazing. What is the gauntlet Zollin is wearing? Okay, so the gauntlet is just a gauntlet. It has no significance to anything. It's no replica. I'm sorry. I mean, it's a replica of like a medieval gauntlet idea, but it looks really cool though. It's very cool. But it's just it was I got a set of them. You can see the other one up there, holding the sign. It's basically just a fun little replica. They were like under $100. You know, someone just kind of mass produces them. These are not like real armor. If I wanted to get a real gauntlet, I'd have to dish out a lot of money, which I don't have in that way. So, but you know what? Hey, got them for like $80, I think. So, but pretty much just a glove, and they built these panels to move a bit. And then they kind of like layered these little things onto the glove. It's pretty cool though. It still looks freaking awesome. And it feels really cool. It feels like I can just punch stuff. Be like Helm Hammerhand, except he didn't even use a gauntlet. He used bare fists. It gets you into the mood though for roleplay, I must say. If you're like doing like a D&D session and you're like a paladin or something, you have this on just one hand, you're like, yes, I'm ready to smite evil. All right. What else we got here? Hello, Skylar. Hello, Zollin. First and foremost, love your videos of LOTRO. Oh, I'm so glad. Thank you. Helpful for me over the last first year playing LOTRO. Oh, nice. Okay. Love your passion of the game. Questions. Do you not stream on Twitch? I do. I'm actually streaming on Twitch right now. We are multi-streaming. So yes, I do. I do not, my main focus is usually on YouTube. So if I'm limited to only one, and no, some people ask, doesn't Twitch, not let you stream to multiple things? They do let you. They changed that in 2023. I double checked the other day. Yeah, I bet he did a pretty, what Elbin said, I bet he probably had I would assume from what he normally does, because I've seen a couple of his videos occasionally. I don't watch his channel a ton, but I've seen it, because, it's huge, so it pops up on the filter. I definitely think he probably had some pros and cons. That's good to hear. Because, I'm really surprised if people just outright hate the War of the Rohirrim. I personally, this is my personal view, okay? I really, really enjoyed it. For me, it was a masterpiece, and it was it was a breath of fresh air when it came to any movie that I've seen in the last 8 years. Because everything else I've watched in the last 8 years has just lackluster. I just okay, that was fine. Or, oh, that was terrible, right? That's pretty much been it for me for the last 8 years. And this was I got out of the theater and I was just that was awesome. Like, I want to see it again, right? That was, and I haven't done that in a long time. The last time I did that was when I watched the One Piece live action on Netflix, which was also surprising to me. I didn't think it'd be that good. And I was like, whoa. And then my friends who were all One Piece huge fans, I was like, did you guys like it? Or is that just me because I don't watch a lot of the One Piece anime? And they're like, no, it was really good. So, yeah. So that was, those are refreshing to me. So that's personally, if I tie the War of the Rohirrim to being good to something, it would be like to another franchise that's been good recently for me personally. This is my personal opinions, guys. You can have your own. I'm not trying to convince you. You have your own thoughts in your own brain. I appreciate it that you like to hear my opinion. But it's definitely War of the Rohirrim is like the One Piece live action for me. It was just like, gosh, that was good. Now here's the thing that I think may have happened with the War of the Rohirrim. Now, again, overall, everyone, my comment section and you guys on Discord and everyone talking to me and other people, it seems like the gist is that the heart, like, all of us that are like, we do Tolkien 24/7 practically. It seems like just a little bit over 50% of people liked it, but it still seems like a pretty high margin of people who didn't as much like it, which is very interesting to me, which is why we're having this talk today, because I want to hear people's opinions. Because one thing I'm really confused on from a couple people that I watched, and again, I like to put this out when I say this, I watched another YouTuber talk about this. This was not any of the Tolkien YouTubers. I just want to point this out, okay? No people I know, none of my close friends. This is another channel that you guys wouldn't even know. Random channel. And I was really surprised that they were like, they were fair on some of the review things, but they really didn't like it. And I was like, whoa. Because usually I have very similar opinions to the person I watch. And I'm like, that's so weird that we got such a striking different thing when we watched it, you know? It's almost like we were like looking at it through different lenses. And I think where that comes down to is, and again, when I went into it, how I went into it, again, I'm glass half full kind of guy. You all know that. I went into watching the War of Rohirrim as, I wasn't like super hopeful, but I was hopeful that it would be decent. That's where I was at. And I wanted to try to keep an open mind. So when I was watching it the first time, I was like, did they do anything dumb? Did they do anything dumb? Like that was going through my head the whole time, right? I'm like watching all the parts. I'm like, oh, Helm tells Hera to stay, again, here comes the spoilers. Helm tells Hera to stay back at the base. Oh, she's going to totally disobey him. This is where they're going to go stupid. She's going to just disobey him. She's going to go out on the battlefield anyway, right? And then she didn't. I was like, oh, okay. I was like, well, that's nice. That's refreshing. Things like that. But the whole time when I first watched it, unfortunately, a little bit of the people saying it was going to be bad was I was trying to be really fair and look for the things that might be bad, which might have not been a good thing to do personally, but I wanted to do it because I'm reviewing it, right, for everyone else who wants to hear my opinion. And I'm like looking through it, right, as I watch it. And, there's one or two little spots. And I was like, I don't know about that. But there wasn't anything like blatant that I was just like, oh, right. And again, I know I'm comparing this a lot, okay? And I know some people really like the Amazon series, okay, from The Lord of the Rings. But the Galadriel in Amazon is like night and day different to Hera, okay? Like all the time when I'm watching the Amazon series, there's spots I like and characters I like, but Galadriel, she's so different than what Tolkien writes that and she's so rude all the time. I'm just like, every time she does something, I'm like, oh, why would you do that? Right? Not only from just a perspective of like what Tolkien wrote, right? Ignore that for a second. Just as a fantasy character by itself, stand alone. I'm like, why would you do that? Right? With the writing, like over and over with the Amazon series. I felt like that was going through my head and heart all the time when I watched it. It was the opposite for War of the Rohirrim. I was like, oh, she didn't do the thing I was thinking they were going to make her do, right? Girl power, right? And I mean that in the negative sense. I think that strong girls are awesome. You get what I'm saying. The negative sense, where it's just unrealistic. Everyone knows this. By the way, I'd like to point out one person that I really wanted to hear their opinion on the movie was my sister, okay? Because my sister is one of those awesome girls. She will call things out instantly, right? She will call something out if it's some stupid made up silliness, right? My sister's actually a writer. She's got girl characters in her own story. She's got guy characters, right? She's got the whole thing going on with a fantasy series. I'd love to show you guys that sometime in the future when she's ready. We might have her on for talk with that or something. But she's writing an entire fantasy novel, and it's pretty freaking awesome. It's very unique. It's her own, but it definitely has some Tolkien-ish vibes still, just with the fantasy, but it's also very unique. I think a lot of you guys would love it. But I was really I wanted to know what her opinion was, because I'm thinking, if anything, my sister will call something out probably even more than me, because I'm a little bit like, I lean towards the giving people the benefit of the doubt almost too much sometimes, being a little too nice about things with like reviews or something, which I tend to rather do that than be the other way and be like ranty about something. But again, there's nothing wrong with being ranty. I'm not accusing anyone. I'm just saying my own opinion, right, and thoughts. But when she saw it and she was like, that was good. That was good, brother. She's like, that was really enjoyable. She's like, Hera was really like a real girl character for once and not a, Mary Sue, whatever, blah, 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 unrealistic crap. Basically, my sister didn't say crap, but you know what I'm saying. And I was like, sweet, so it was really cool to kind of hear her opinion on that. Then I had my two friends watch it. My good friend, who's kind of like my sister, she watched it. And she's also someone who'll just call stuff out if she doesn't like it. And her husband, who is my friend too, and they both really liked it too. We all saw it together, and then my brother-in-law saw it, and he also liked it. And he will also call things out. So these are all people that I respect, right? And my mom saw it too. They're all people that I respect to call stuff out, because they're really all not into that worldly inserting of agendas and all these things that we have to deal with all the time in our fantasy and movies, which really, I don't know why they feel the need to do that. But in this case, they didn't. At least for all of our opinions, the 5 or 6 of us. And again, there's some people who think they did, right? And that's where I want to talk about. So let me go ahead and read some more things you guys said here as I've been blabbing away. Thank you for liking the stream, by the way. Thank you, appreciate it. Love the One Piece logo also on the top left. Ah, yes. That's just because I love that series so much. It's like not Lord of the Rings at all. It's stuck there. Also, I've got this is the little plushie of Helm right here inside the helmet. And then there's a little plushie of Hera. And then this is, it looks like a Hobbit. A lot of people think it's a Hobbit, which is great. We'll just keep it as a Hobbit. But it's technically the garlic farmer from La Viva Dirt League. It's Greg, the garlic farmer. If you watch that YouTube series. And then I've got Helm's Hammer. I got 2 versions of Helm's Hammer. I got this one and I got the one right here. Okay. This one's from AMC theaters. This one's from Regal theaters. This one's better, personally. This one's a different color, which is interesting. And the hammerhead's bigger, but the hilt is shorter. So interesting. I guess this one was like more popcorn. Plum Bottom, did anyone get the mini trash can from the movies? It's great. Got a hair. Yes. You mean the popcorn thing? Yes, I did actually get that. It's right back here. I got it as a gift, but I'm gonna. It's all packaged up, and I'm actually giving it as a gift to a family member. So and she watches this sometimes, so we're not gonna I'm not gonna put it up. Look at this gift I got from my family member. It's like spoilers. Inkling Investigation. Love all of it, but one thing I got I did not like was the whole eagle plot. Interesting. This is interesting. I like this. With how it was cheapens the role of the eagles in other movies. If every time one thing goes wrong, the eagles are always there. That not how Tolkien wrote it, people helpless without eagles to save the day. No eagles. Okay, interesting. I have a similar take on this. All right? I have a very similar take on this. I was not like, as much as the eagles didn't like ruin the movie for me, I was kind of in we didn't need the eagles. Yeah, I think that the eagle part wasn't needed, personally. Like, if they had just done the eagles at the very beginning, just because they looked cool, right at the very beginning, to kind of show all of Rohan, to use them as a, helicopter mode for their art, That I would have been totally happy with that. I would have been like, sweet, perfect, awesome. Moving on. Another thing that bothered me personally about the Eagles, on top of what you said, is that she goes up there and everything they do was well done, because she's gonna touch it. And, oh no, okay, I'll bow, right? I won't touch the eagle. That was good, but the Eagles are. This is something that I've always been a little negative towards the Peter Jackson adaptations too, with The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings. The Eagles, The Lord of the Rings isn't as bad, right? Because you don't see them as much. You just see them real quick at the end. But the Eagles are more of a race. They're not really like an animals that know speech. They're like a race, right? I mean, it's a little complicated because like they are animals, right? But they're clearly very smart, and they can speak human common tongue. They don't just know it. All right, so that was something that bothered me a little bit. I was really hoping in War of the Rohirrim, if they did Eagles, that they would have an eagle speak. Since it's anime, it'd be a lot easier to animate than a live action, right? You'd just be able to start slowly bringing that in. Maybe they were worried too many people would get angry, but here's the thing, right? If they had the eagles speak, mega fans like me and a bunch of you guys watching would have been like, yes, finally! A lot of people would have hated it. Okay? So you do have to think about it from the fact that people who don't know that would be like, why is the eagle speaking? What is this, Narnia? Right? It's like, and we can all roll our eyes as Tolkien fans. I love Narnia, but you know what I'm saying with that. You get where that would become a double-edged sword, right? A two-edged blade. It would end up hurting yourself. Even though, why would your okay, that saying drives me crazy sometimes. But that's something to me personally. I was like, why are the eagles not speaking? I'd love that. And I'm glad that they showed it, like, did know what she was saying. That's great. But, yeah, the Lord of the Rings Online does it best. The eagles actually speak to you. They talk. They have epic voice actors that did the voices. So there's booming, hello, adventurer, you know, because they're awesome. So that would be something that I would have liked too on top of that. So I agree with what Inkling is saying on that. I definitely think that that was a little bit of a miss of the target. I think that they should have just kept the eagles out too, personally. I think that it was so minimal in the story that it wasn't like the end all for the War of the Rohirrim movie, and it looked really cool, right? And like, I mean, it did show how he gets Helm's armor, right? Freylof, to have him on the end, so they think it's Helm up on the hill. That kind of fixes that, but I feel like they could have snuck out a rider or something through the Glittering Caves, right, to get to Dunharrow. I want to talk about now, for everyone who's here, I would like to cover, and I would love all your thoughts who are here live right now, or later as a comment, and I'll read it. What do you guys think about Hera being the main character? Because I know that's a big negative for people, a lot of people who don't like it, right? And I don't necessarily think the majority of people are upset because she's a girl. Right? I don't think that's why a lot of people are upset, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on that more, if anyone has kind of a counter thing. I'm going to explain why I thought it was refreshing to have a girl character personally that didn't seem like they inserted any agendas from our world into it. And you guys know what I mean by agendas. I am being very, very careful because, for one, we all know YouTube doesn't like certain words, but two, I just don't like to go into political stuff. And unfortunately, though, sometimes I have to enter a slight toe into it because it gets put in all our stuff. So sometimes I have to a little bit, but I have to make a comment or something. But again, you guys know, even on my Discord, the rule is we try not to talk about any political stuff. I reserve the right to say it because I'm the host on my channel or whatever. I can say things if I want to, but just so you know, I cap it on myself because I want it to be fun. I want everyone to feel welcome and have conversations. It's really hard when you hear someone say something about any political stuff and you don't polarize one way or the other, depending on what your feelings are on something. And it's really hard. Again, there's people I watch that very open about their politics on both sides, by the way. I'm more of a moderate myself, but on things. But I definitely have certain views that are maybe more intense one way or the other, just like anyone. But I laugh because some people I watch, it's really hard not to lump them into a group, right? You hear them say something, you're like, oh, they must believe all these things, right? In the group. And that's just not the case. We're very complex. Humans have many thoughts going on. That's how we should be. That's how God made us. But I just think it's funny. So that's why I stay away from that stuff. Just a little side note. But on the thing, a lot of times in the last many years, the reason why so many of us, I think, have a knee-jerk reaction towards any new adaptation or thing is that so much stuff has, even if it's not direct, there's some stuff that's very direct, right? They put something in that's a, and again, I'm just going to use the word political or agenda, okay? I'm not going to use any other words. There's certain groups that are trying to put things into stuff, and whether you agree or disagree on that, okay? For me personally, I think with society, I think as a whole, I think we can naturally decide what is right or wrong to have in our community as a whole. And I think anyone artificially trying to shove something in ends bad. And you can see that throughout history, okay? It just causes polarization. It causes people grouping against each other. It causes fights. So instead of having fun dialogue like we're having right now, people start grouping up and attacking each other. And that's just wrong. That's not how it should be done. So that's why, and again, even people who disagree with that grouping and stuff, sometimes as the opposite, they'll polarize the other way and they'll do it too. And they don't even realize they're doing it because they're so frustrated and tired of something. And by the way, I don't blame them. People are going to get frustrated about things. And that is how it goes. I get frustrated about things, right? We're all human. We all have limits to our patience, of course. But my point is that's why I like to kind of stick to saying just like, they inserted this thing, right? Or that or the other, that kind of stuff. But personally, me for Hera, the reason why, back to the point of what I said, which I think I'm going to read what you guys said now, because do you like her as the main character? And we'll talk about my opinion in a minute on that. Okay, so, Inkling. Yes, it was cool in the movie. Yes, you're talking about the Eagles, right? But not in Tolkien movie, but it did not ruin the movie. Yeah, exactly. Thunderstrike says, I guess the Eagles didn't bother because I'm just used to the Jackson Universe Eagles. Yeah, no, that's true. See, and that is the thing, because we were used to Peter Jackson's and the Hobbit trilogy and the Lord of the Rings trilogy, that didn't really bother me either. But because I know so much that the Eagles can speak so well, and they're just basically, they have the intelligence of a human, if not more than average, right? That's why Manwë made them the way he made them. I agree with that, Thunder. Yeah, good point. Inkling says she was great for Hera, yes. During the 7th, okay, gotta run. No worries, you're good. Thanks for hanging out. All right, good seeing you too. Yes, Elvin, I think this is a good point, okay? Now, again, there are trigger words, not for us, not for me, but for a YouTube algorithm. So we're gonna stay away from saying certain things, but you guys can read for what Elvin said for yourself. I think, indeed, there are some stuff that has been ruined. Absolutely. I think, surprisingly, in the last year, there's certain people and actors who have come out kind of against the kind of the mainstream on certain things and said, let's get back to movie making, which I appreciate. But yes, correct. It only gets you more and more skeptical. Yes, correct. And that's what I'm trying to say myself, too. It's like, I think one reason why, again, the War of the Rohirrim may have struggled. I think if the Amazon series had not been out yet, and just the War of the Rohirrim had dropped by itself, I think it would have had a much better acceptance, where people actually gave it a chance. I think that a lot of people just aren't willing to give something a chance, which is funny because I would remind people that it's not Amazon that made this one, right? It's a different group of people, different company, and not to mention a lot of people working around it were high-profile people in the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and also the Japanese producer is also pretty famous and done some pretty cool stuff. Hello over there on Twitch, by the way. Hello. Poteen. inkling. At the end, when she went to Gandalf at the end, it should have been Saruman, not Gandalf, because Saruman started collecting the rings. Interesting take. Yes. I do think... So as much as the Gandalf thing's a tie-in and a little nod, which, by the way, I appreciate the movie didn't too heavily try to use the other trilogies to be like nostalgia to make it good. It was only used like once or twice in the whole movie, like at the beginning and end, to kind of tie it together. I do think that would have been nice. I think it would have been nice if it was Saruman that had her come to the thing. Now, of course, or even both, right? She's like, we need to go talk to some wizards. And then they could have said, like, Saruman wants to know about the ring. And another wizard, Gandalf, that's the, you know, like, yeah, I think that would have been good. Yeah, Sauron, at this point, Saruman would have already been looking for the ring just slightly, right? Now, Saruman's not evil yet, right at this point. We know from what Tolkien said. He's still a good guy. But we know that in his heart, he's starting to slowly look for power. Because he kind of always was. But, like, Saruman was not evil. I think because of the trilogy, the movie, sometimes people get the feeling that Saruman was evil. 95% of the time he was on Middle-earth, he was not evil. Right? He was quite the opposite. So, but yeah, I agree with you on that. Blumponim said, I really liked her, but it was more the story of the family. It was. And that's something that I'd like to go into here next. I personally thought that they did a very good job on making it about the whole family unit. Helm, Hem, and Hameth, right? Hameth, that other boy's name, and Hera. I think it was really nice that they made it about all of them at a whole, and Freylof. Like, they were all really pivotal characters in the story, because if they had made it where Hera was kind of distantly watching these people, that would have been dumb. So I want to talk about real fast too why I think Hera was the right choice from a lore perspective and a canon perspective. If you read the appendices of the whole story of Helm Hammerhand, it's freaking awesome. But we do know that it's a little choppy, right? It's not really a full fluid story. So how do you connect the parts, right? How do you make it where it's right? So let's just for objective sake, which I talked about in my other video, but let's just talk about, like, what if you made Helm the main character, right? Forget Hera. You know, she's a real character. He had a daughter, but she wasn't named, so we didn't know her name was Hera. That was made up for the movie, right? And he had a daughter. We don't know her fate at all. Okay, we have no other information about her. But Helm, we have all his story, right? We know that he does all these things. We know that he fights to the death outside and gets frozen overnight. Freaking awesome monster. Awesome. I'm glad that Helm got so much screen time in the movie. It was really about him, the story, right? So the fact that he still got a good chunk of the whole entire movie was fantastic. But Helm, I don't think would have been the right choice because he dies, right? About 2/3 into the story. It would have been very depressing as the viewer to follow along. And how do you do that from a writer perspective when the main character dies that you're following? It's like, okay, well, that doesn't work. And then you have the same issue with his sons. Now, we don't know exactly from what I remember how they die. I think they just get killed in battle. I'm trying to remember. I got to bring the appendice up and read it again. But they both die. So using Hammer Hemeth wouldn't have really worked either because they both die, right? Partway through the story. It's like, okay, well, they're not really... Unless, for argument's sake, they rewrote the original story. But then you're getting into the grounds of changing the original story that Tolkien wrote. And I am a stickler that you do not change the original canon lore of any author. I'm a stickler on that. And I will stick to that to the end. I think it's bad. I think every time you do it, you flop, right? In a storytelling. Every time. I mean, it's like who's on Martin, who writes Game of Thrones. He's still alive, made a great comment on Twitter just a couple months back. He said every single time they try to adapt something, 99% of the time, and they change the original author's story, it's terrible. And he's right. It never works because we're all expecting what the original author wrote, right? That's one thing. And usually the original author just had a better job doing the storytelling than some upstart trying to rewrite it, right? So the idea of trying to rewrite the sons, that would be weird. And we know they need to die, right? Because Freylof becomes king. And that's the new line, which Theoden comes from, right? And Éomer and Éowyn. So clearly they have to die. So you can't like change the story that they don't die. So Hem and Hamlet, they're kind of out. When you don't, if you don't want to hurt Tolkien's lore or change it, you can't use them. Okay, you just have to write what Tolkien wrote, and then they die. So how do you continue the story? Well, Freylof never dies, so Freylof would be a great choice, right? So I do think there's an argument that they could have used Freylof. I think that's a legitimate argument. You guys know the term, like an argument, like not as in rah fighting, but conversation, right? A legitimate argument, like a court case. Okay, all right, okay, you get it. But Freylof is a legitimate argument. You could have used Freylof. But here's one big issue with Freylof, okay? We know that Tolkien writes in the story that he gets sent to Dunharrow, and he's out for that whole time at Helm's Deep, right? And so he's gone. So they would have had to disregard what Tolkien wrote about the storytelling, rewrite Freylof and rewrite an entire story, right? They could have done that, maybe. Maybe it would have been good. Maybe it would have been awful. Those are both highly likely. So I think what they were thinking is, well, Freylof's kind of out because we know Tolkien tells us that he isn't here, okay? So we can't use Freylof, right, as a character that we see all these adventures through. So if we can't use Helm, and we can't use Hem, and we can't and Hameth and Freylof because they're all Tolkien tells us what happens. Those three die. He's gone during this whole part of the fight. Who do we put into the story that will guide us through the story and see everything happening up close with these characters, because we still want Helm to be a main character. We want to see him all the time, not just off at a distance, right? We want to see the brothers all the time, not just off at a distance. We want to see Freylof up close all the time, not just off at a distance in the storytelling. So what do you use then, right? That's what the writers are thinking. This is my own personal opinion and guesses, okay? They're like, well, what do I use now, right? We could make up a character, brand new character, just make them up from scratch, right? Brand new character. Well, a lot of times making a brand new character, it can be fine. Sometimes it can't. But realistically, if you make a brand new character, why would they be around those royal family all the time? Maybe like one of the guards, like the royal guards it's the right-hand guard to the king or something. Like maybe you could do that, write a story like that, right? There's all sorts of things you could do with that. Sure. But it just doesn't seem right. Then you have this one daughter that Helm has, who's in the family, who we don't know what happens to her. Tolkien doesn't say that, but we know she existed. She's not named, but he has a daughter, and the brothers have a sister. Interesting. She would be with them the whole time, because she's the princess, right? She would have gone to Helm's Deep with the whole group of Edoras, of all the people. She would have, been involved in the court things. She would have saw Helm punch Freka in the face and destroy him. She would have seen all these things, right? That's where I think it makes sense why they picked Hera. Because you have a few things going on. You're not breaking any of Tolkien's original canon of lore. You're using a real character that did exist. We just don't know her outcome. And you're making a character we can follow along through the eyes close up with all the other main characters we know the details of. You see why they picked Hera now? Does that help a little bit? For maybe people who disagree with they picked Hera, I think that's why they picked Hera. As someone who really loves the lore and I don't want it changed, I think that's what they did. It's better to use a character and add lore to link something together than to corrupt or change Tolkien's lore. That's my personal thoughts on that. That's, again, you might disagree with me. That's completely fine if you disagree. We'll read comments in just a second. But that's my thoughts on it. Now, one thing that, we know that Freylof is actually the one that kills Wolf. That might have been a little cooler to see him kill Wolf than Hera, but since they did the tie-in of the whole, Wolf is fine, but there are some stuff about Wolf in general in the movie that I felt a little funny about, that I didn't really totally like. Obviously his obsession to like kill Hera then is I feel like a very realistic thing, right, emotionally, because he's just like totally messed up in his mind. So it kind of made sense to have her beat him, and then that could tie in the whole Shield Maiden story, which again, the Shield Maiden's a very real thing Tolkien wrote about in the story, right? So Freylof could have been the one to kill Wolf like the original story. But I think in this way, that one change isn't totally terrible. And I think that it kind of helped us as the audience, for people watching, to kind of feel like she got some vengeance because she just watched her brothers get murdered by him. Her father dies, right? All this stuff. So I think it's kind of like a satisfaction for the audience as writing. So that's the one thing they shifted there, right? But again, the only thing they shifted was basically Freylof not being the one to kill Wolf, right? Though he kind of technically does, as in beating his army, showing up, but he's not the one that like kills him and stabs him, right? And they basically, and I think that doesn't Freylof actually like stab him through the throat or something? So they kind of did like for her, she kills him with a shield, right? She crushes his windpipe with a shield, which by the way is super gruesome and also super awesome. To kill the bad guy that way. A lot of people one thing that I was a little sus about is she couldn't have overpowered him when she knocked him on the ground. But I think he was slipping. And they didn't really show that right, but I think he was slipping backwards already, and then she shoved the shield in and it got him on the ground and, and then kind of crushed it. That could have been shown a little bit better, because I'm like, for one, she could not have overpowered him, right, if it was an equal footing. So that's just a side note, but I don't think she was supposed to overpower him. I think he slipped, and then she used that fact against him. All right. So let me go ahead and read some other things here, some other thoughts. All right. Boop-a-doop-a-doo. Yeah, exactly, Inkling. So Inkling has said what I kind of went through in the last few minutes there. See, this is it. Okay, so interesting. So Salty thinks that there was a little bit of like and he's being like the negative term, right, of like feminists, like kind of inserting certain like things into it. And by the way, the reason I know anything about this stuff is because of my sister doesn't like this stuff either. My sister is very like strong woman, strong girl, but she thinks a lot of that is inserted fakely into things too, that isn't realistic. But I don't really, personally, again, since Hera for me didn't feel at all like fake in that way. Some people argue that she didn't have enough of a personality, and that for me personally, I can sort of see. I thought she did, but again, we didn't really have a whole lot of time for them to build her personality in the way they told the story, since it's like Awen was telling the history of this story. So we didn't really get a whole lot of character building. She clearly, was like children, wanted to protect her people, right? She loved her father. She loved her brothers. She definitely had some, like, things. She loved her horse, right? There's definitely personality stuff there. So I'm a little bit confused why some people say she had no personality. Because I've heard a couple people say that. But, yeah, I don't personally feel like there was a bunch of that inserted Salty myself at all. So that's why, like, Philippa, I don't really like have any like anger, okay, because I think they did a good job personally. But I would love it if you'd break that down. Investigation said, what do you mean by that? So yes, I'd love to break that down a little bit. You've already done it. Okay. Okay, so let's break this down. So Salty's got a totally different take on it than I do. And a lot of us. So I'd like to do it. So he's saying that he doesn't like it when they're putting in, and again, this is something that has been happening. Okay, so I will agree that for Galadriel in Rings of Power, not Tolkien's Galadriel, Rings of Power Amazon, okay? They definitely made it where she was trying to take on a more of like, I can do exactly what a man can do, right? To an extent. And I'm not trying to be mean about that, but the way she again, I've argued this in my reviews of the Amazon Rings of Power, right? They should have made her do some magic and had a little bit more respect for people, and then she would have been a very strong figure. But instead, she kind of just acts like, I can do everything with my sword, right? And my athletic abilities, right? And sure, elves are going to be very strong. Female and male are going to be very powerful to an extent. But it still seems weird with how they did that, right? And then, but you were saying, let's go back to Hera. You're saying they have no superpowers, and even they do them, it's getting old. Okay, so Salty. Here's why I again, I'm not out to just attack your views, but I like what you said. I appreciate you giving your opinion. When I watched it, there was nothing that Hera didn't do that I have some friends that could do that. All right, in real life. Now, here's the thing. We have to be realistic, right? And about it and fair about it. Most girls and guys, but again, especially girls, in the things that she do wouldn't be the case. It's like probably like 5% of women could do that, right? Athletically, with the stuff they show her do in the movie. So it's not like where, like with men, you could probably have like 30% that could do that athletically, the crazy stuff she pulls off. And that's just because of natural biological differences. But I didn't see any. So I grew up with some friends that lived, just to repeat this, I said in my video the other day, I grew up with some friends in Sierra Nevadas who were horse riders. They had a pack station at 10,500 feet elevation. I went up there for a month at a time, pretty much every year for like 15 years. They were like my best friends, all 4 girls, right? The dad had all girls. And they were just like my sisters, and it was awesome. We always had so much fun, and my sister was there with us too. So it was 5 girls and me, and they usually had a range hand or 2, which was nice. So we had a couple other guys, but we used to have so much fun. But they were insane what they did. Like, and I'm a little bit more reserved, like and careful about things. But they would do the craziest stunts with their horses, on everything. I mean, like, they were just so chill, like riding a horse, and there's a cliff and there's a drop of 1,000 feet right there. I'm like, oh my gosh, don't fall, horse. And they're just like chill, like nothing's wrong. And the things they would climb sides of mountains. They would like do crazy tricks on their horses. My sister was a barrel rider. So she would just like, book it on that horse, doing turns. It looked like the horse is going to hit the ground on the side, and it keeps going, right? My sister's like hanging on. So, everything that Hera did, there's only one thing in the entire movie that felt unrealistic, that wouldn't be possible for someone like that to do in real life. It was when she jumped over that sword swing. That felt a little bit silly for me. That would have been hard for a guy or a girl to do, especially if you're in full armor. But to be fair, she wasn't really wearing any armor, so maybe it'd be a little easier. But that was the only thing. Otherwise, like when she leans down, picks up the spear, when she's horse riding, when she like slides down that pole in that one part with after the mummy kill, the fire stops him at Edoras. When she climbs the ice mountain, there's one spot where she jumps that seems a little like, oh, I don't know about that. That was a little bit more of the anime flair to stress us out. But I mean, I've seen ice climbers do things like that in reality. So there are people who can do that. So again, a lot of stuff she did, there was nothing to me that screamed, that's impossible. You couldn't do that as a human, or you couldn't do that as a female or a guy. Right. So I didn't see her like being inserted in like, oh, look at this. Like, for example, if what you're saying too is like, could, if she was being inserted more like, I can do anything a guy could do, right? All the times that she gets captured, right? Now, even when a guy gets captured, you usually need to be rescued, right? That's just how it works. But, if they did it where like, oh, I escaped myself from the Isengard camp. Oh, I beat the evil traitor in the barn myself. Oh, I killed the troll and the 2 orcs that captured me by myself. Then I would have been like, oh yeah, that's ridiculous, right? I would have been like, that's the stupidest thing ever. I would have been really angry, disappointed. But she doesn't. She gets saved all 3 times. Her horse saves her from the evil traitor general in the barn. Her dad Helm saves her and beats up the troll and the orcs pretty awesomely. The part at the beginning where, so she gets saved every single time, which felt very realistic to me, But anyway, that's just my thought on that. But again, I can understand that you're saying, I think, Salty, are you saying more too that you're saying like you feel like it should have been Freyloff or something and they kind of inserted her into the guy's story plot, killing Wolf and stuff? Is that kind of what you're saying maybe too? Because I can understand that. Did Helm lose anything that he was supposed to do with Hera as a man? Inkling says. Yeah, I don't think so, because they didn't change. That was one thing that personally I really loved about the movie. They didn't change any of the original story or lore. Now, the only thing that I could say that rubbed some people's feathers the wrong way, and I get it, is when Helm says, and Salty, you tell me you probably agree with this, when Helm makes the comment that at the end of his little speech, he goes, "You're my pride and joy," which is perfect and wonderful and totally good for a father to say to his daughter. Absolutely 100%. Nothing wrong with those two lines. But then he makes the comment, "You could rule the world," right? A lot of people thought that was like, oh, there's, that's a political insert or blah, blah, blah. I don't think so. Personally, I don't think that's what they were going for at that moment. I think that was a father realizing he was going to have to go fight for his life and die. He's thinking they're probably going to die. He's basically, I read into it. Maybe it's not. Maybe you're like, oh, well, Zollin, it should be exactly what he said. Okay, fine. But I read into it that he was saying that you can rule our people, or at least help defend the city until the end. Right? Like you are a great daughter, which is what I thought it was neat. Cause if I'm a dad to a daughter in the future, if I have a daughter, that's what, I'd want the world for them too. And I think that's what they were going for with that. I don't think that it was, and I guess you could say like, well, don't give him unrealistic expectations. I really don't think he was telling her to go out and be Sauron and take over the world. I don't think that was what he was trying to imply. Okay. So I clearly think he was just saying basically, I love you, goodbye, right? Because he knew he wasn't going to survive. We can talk about that part more in a minute, though. Let me go catch up with you guys are saying here. Okay, Thunderstrike says, I think maybe part of the reason I liked Hera is because I don't really consume much media lately. So I haven't been burned as much IP I've interested. Yeah, see, and this is the thing for me personally. I can attest to this. What you're saying, Thunderstrike, is that I feel a little bit burnt out from how the personality of how they did Galadriel in Amazon's series. And I think that's for a lot of people that kind of made it where people just didn't want to have a lead that was a girl at all, right? Because it does seem like lately a lot of times they've been putting the girl as the lead, which again, I don't have a problem with. And by the way, back in the 2000s and before that, because I watched reruns, even though I wasn't really around, I was too little for a lot of things, we had really cool girl characters. A lot of the D&D stuff, it's funny, if you go back and read D&D books that are from like the 90s, which I have one, and the 2000s, a lot of times in their description, they'll say, for this armor or this spell, she, blah, 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 blah. And they always use the word she for everything. But that was because the guys wanted the girls to play the D&D with them. Right? And that's what they wanted. So it's funny that there's almost like a knee-jerk reaction now to that, right? Because again, Hera, the way they made Hera, she's beautiful, right? As an anime character, right? Now she's not a live action character, but she is very pretty, how they picked her and stuff in that area. So I feel like they definitely went still for the, they didn't full make her out to be like, macho guy, right? She's still a girl, right? And they very clearly make that out, especially when she gets into her dress at the beginning and all that stuff. And she's very elegant and very respectful and very polite and stuff, which I think are all good traits for everyone to have. But I think that is, especially for a princess, right? And I think that's really good. And again, you guys know me. I have a lot of respect for everybody, and I have a wonderful, amazing mom and an amazing sister, and I highly respect women. But I do see it, and so do my mom and sister, when they're doing insert of things and like, oh, well, this character can do everything that this guy could have done. And my sister's usually the one that calls that out. She's usually the one before I do. She'd be like, that's so dumb. And by the way, my sister is someone that can compete very easily with most guys. Okay. She is just super athletic. She's always been like that. She's like 1 out of 1,000, right? Kind of thing where she just has so much energy, and you can see I have a lot of pride. My sister's great. She's my younger sister, but she's awesome. All right. I'm gonna keep going here on what we're talking about. So again, my point was I want to be very distinct on the separation of what we're talking about of a negative version of basically it's almost disrespectful to women, right? That's one thing that bothers me too. It's almost disrespectful to women when these movies insert a character and then act like, oh, well, let's just do no women traits and let's just make them super like everything a guy can do. I think it's insulting to women because women are awesome. Women are very special. Women, okay, male and female are very separate. God made us all, but we have specialties. We should be very happy about what we're good at, right? It doesn't mean there's an occasional thing where a woman's really good at this, when maybe usually guys are good at this, or a guy's really good at this, like, sewing or something, where usually that's a women thing, right? You get my point, right? The point is we are special and unique. So I feel like sometimes it's an insult, right, to women when they insert a woman into a spot and then act like, well, we're going to take out all the things that the women's good at. I'm just going to make them like everything the guy does, right? And I'm like, that's insulting. Why are you doing that? It's like you can make a strong female character. Tolkien shows us this, right? That's strong, that's a leader, all this stuff. And again, I feel like Hera is a good example of this in The War of the Rohirrim. Even if some people disagree with me, I think that she was shown as she had strong women traits, and yet she still was good at other things because, again, she was trained by her father, who was the best warrior, right, and her brothers. And also, apparently, in their made-up character, the Shield Maiden lady, right, which would make sense. There probably one or two. But yeah, anyway, those are my thoughts on that. Again, hopefully I don't bother anyone. I feel like that's pretty moderate what I just said, so it shouldn't be an issue. I think that was pretty moderate what I just said. That's how I feel on it, though. All right, so let's see. All right, Salty says that's not his point. So you guys do have to remember, too. Tolkien is the one that made up Shield Maidens. That is Tolkien's idea. That's not made up for The War of the Rohirrim. All right? So Tolkien is the one that made up Shield Maidens. Tolkien clearly had a lot of respect for women. So the fact that a lot of people accuse Tolkien in some more radical things, or not radical, but oh, he didn't do anything with women. That's not true in his stories. There's a lot of strong women. You know who made a really good video is Nerd of the Rings made a really good video on warriors, women of Lord of the Rings, and recently it was excellent. I highly recommend watching that video if you're curious more on that subject. And it was very well done and very just talking about the facts of what Tolkien wrote. Yeah. So let me go ahead and keep going here. All right. That is true. That could be the case, what Elbin said. I mean, it could be that Tolkien, in his mind, she didn't do anything, right, in the story. That could be. Obviously, Tolkien has other characters that do a lot that are females, right? But it could be because he didn't write anything about her in that story that she didn't do anything. Or maybe she did, right? Again, it could go either way. That is absolutely a justifiable thing to say. Absolutely. Yes, and exactly. It wouldn't have necessarily hurt anything to not use her, right? And to use a different character. But I think the reason they picked her was because she was the ideal character spot, being the daughter of Helm, to see everything that happens to Helm, him being a main character, and her brothers, and Freylof, right? She's the best choice, that's the closest that we know exists without changing any of the original lore, and I think that's why they did it, all right? I think that's more of the reason they did it than, we wanted to pick a girl as being the main lead, right? I'm sure that might be part of it, but I don't think that's the reason they did it, right? I think if there would have been a better pick of a character to pick, they would have picked that, whether it be a girl or a guy, irrelevant, right? I really think that's what it came down to with story writing. I personally feel, just because after watching the movie, I would not have thought that same thought before I seen the movie, right? If I was trying to say this before the movie came out, But now that I've seen it, that's my thought on that. Because sometimes the premise, or when you're thinking something, you're saying something, is important, right? All right. Yeah, well, again, I know Salty. I appreciate that Salty came to hang out and talk about this, because Salty has a very different take than a lot of us on it. I don't personally see a lot of that, where I don't think I see Philippi ruining everything. I think that they did a good job, but I mean, did Philippi do the love triangle in The Hobbit? Because I didn't like that very much. She seems like a very nice person, though. I mean, I would still totally have a chat with her. It would be fun. But I would, I'd be like, why'd you do the love triangle with a dwarf? Just do it with elves. No, I'm just kidding. Let's see here. All right, the fact. Okay. All right. So Elvin, you're saying that you think that you're thinking that it had nothing to do with storytelling, and it just mainly that she was a side character by NPC, like non-player character, just kind of there, and that they just wrote it in because it was like they want to do their version of it, the story. I mean, it's possible. I personally, after the fact of seeing the movie, I don't think that is the case, me personally. But of course it's possible, right? All right, let's see. Let me catch up to everyone here. Wolf Lord Fer, hello. All right. The name Hera has its origins in Greek, but the Anglo-Saxon would have learned it from earlier Germanic terms. Okay. Contact with Rome. Interesting. Very cool addition there. Cool. Salty, I do think that Hera needed more explanation for why she is the way she is. There needs to be the explanation for her not pursuing marriage. And that's something that's a good point. Like the Bridge of Rohan direction could have been good. Yeah, I agree with that. That's something that did feel a little weird to me, that she was kind of like, I don't want to get married. It's like, and here's the thing. I do have, again, with family members and friends, there are times where someone's like, I just don't want to get married yet. And someone's not ready for it. And absolutely, I get that. But it would have liked a little bit more explanation why. That would have been good. Because it kind of felt a little bit like, it kind of felt a little bit like the arc. If you look into it a lot, it felt a little bit like, oh, I don't need a man kind of feel, right? Just slightly. And again, to all my girl audience out there, I know a lot of you are also rolling your eyes to that whole scene when she says that. It's like, what? Why? But again, in this point, though, I think the reason is, if we look into it, is that she doesn't like Wolf because she doesn't like Wolf, right? But then she kind of says, well, I don't want to marry any man. That's where I was kind of like, I think she should have just said, I don't want to marry you. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like there wasn't any point to say, I don't want to marry any man. I'm like, I think her point was she wants to be able to go do her own thing and not be kind of like locked down. Right? Which, again, is a fine opinion to have for anyone. Anyone wants to stay single, they can stay single, male or female, right? But I think they should have said, I don't want to marry you, basically, right? And I don't mind it that she said, our fathers are talking like I'm not even in the room, because clearly that is kind of what happened, right? When they're just saying, like, you're going to marry her to some Gondor king and prince, and she's like, wait, what? Which is something that happened a lot, right, in the olden times with royalty. And, like, that is kind of like, in our day and age standards, we want everyone to have a choice. But back in the medieval times, with kind of what Tolkien is basing a lot of this story on, that really did happen, right? People kind of were just like, oh, you're marrying this person, right? The parents. And that was the case with the guy too, but it seems like they did sometimes push it more onto the that's the girl's role, right? Which, you know, I don't really personally like as someone who, if I had a daughter, I'd want them to marry who they would want to marry, right? Personally. But sometimes you'd have to do it for politically. Sometimes you have to do it to save a kingdom, clearly. And the fact that one thing that that they almost make it like it was Hera's decision to cause this war, if you think about it, to an extent, because she didn't want to marry him. Because in reality, what happened was in the books, in the Pentendencies, is Helm gets angry because Freka insults his daughter, which is something that happens, and he clearly gets angry about that in the movie. But I felt like Freka, when he punches Freka, I felt like, you know, my friend was saying that Wolf seemed like actually like the victim there. Though if you listen, Freka says some pretty horrible things about Hera right before he gets punched. He's like, she'll come groveling back to my son. She's not even worthy of my son, right? In the books, Tolkien implies he says a lot worse and more inappropriate things to Helm about Hera, and that's what makes Helm so angry, which is what any father would do, right? So that was all fine, but I definitely think they should have made it a little less victimish for Wolf, feeling like, oh, poor Wolf, his father just got murdered in front of him. They should have made it more that he was more villainous there too, even though I think that was the anime influence a little bit. But again, there's only so much. They're never going to be able to please everybody with the storytelling, right? All right, let's see here. I do think Harry needed more. I already read that. Moving on. Your friends, I got to hurry up and catch up with you. Your friends can jump the fall 30 feet. That part. Yeah, no, she clearly landed on a tent with a big leather catch. They couldn't jump to the ground 30 feet, but yeah, they could jump to a big leather top of a tent and get caught like a blanket. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, I understand. I understand that. I thought that at first too salty, but then I realized she jumped onto a tent to get down there. She didn't jump straight to the ground, because that would have been ridiculously stupid if she just jumped to the ground. I completely agree with you. Yeah, so it's funny. The guy that just didn't really like the show, but is an expert with like swordplay and stuff, he actually talked about that Hera beating Wolf, and he actually thought her swordplay and the way they did it in animation was actually really good. And he's like kind of an expert at that. He also thought that the shield maneuver she uses to get the sword out of his hand, it's a classic maneuver they've been using for thousands of years. And so that was all. And he was talking about that one thing with swords is they're kind of like guns. They're like an equalizer, because again, usually a male is always going to have more strength than a female. It's just, you know, in fighting, that's just usually always the case. There's very little exception to that, from one-on-one, unless you have some woman who's a powerhouse and some guy that's a stick. But even then, right? But the thing with a sword is a sword gives you the ability to have an equalizing that it keeps someone at distance. Because you're going to grapple, of course she'd lose. Absolutely. Right? If you're like fighting fists. But, you know, a sword, there's a little more danger. He can't get too close or she's going to stab him. Right? Same thing with like a gun. It's an equalizer. Right? Which is why, you know, I think that, you know, women should learn to defend themselves too with these items. Because it gives them the ability to protect themselves. Right? I'm a very American guy. What do you expect? Okay. To be fair, Elv also jumped from 30 feet. That's true. Yeah. That actually did get me a little bit too, when he jumps off that mountain cliff to attack the troll to save her. It looked really cool from an animation perspective, but he jumps really far. And that actually did make me think about that. I was like, I don't know about that jump. But again, remember, guys, it was an anime perspective. So there's going to be a few things here and there that might feel a little unrealistic at times, just because it's anime. Because if you've watched any anime, guys, the things they do sometimes is very unrealistic. But still, I thought it was good in that way. Yeah. So again, here's the thing with what Salty is saying with this. this does happen sometimes in storytelling. Absolutely. Where they make it where it's like, yeah, no, that's unrealistic, right? You don't just win like that. But I felt like the way they did the choreographed fight, that it felt to me personally believable. The only thing that wasn't believable to me was when she jumps over his sword. I thought that was silly, right? And especially because if he's swinging, unless he's swinging really hard, you could turn your sword and go up, right? You can control a sword. If you've ever done sword play, you know. Also, one thing for me is, did she overpower him and knock him to the ground and shield bash his throat, or did he slip? Because if he slipped, believable. If she overpowered him, stupid, right? And again, I don't know if we can ever know from the angle they did it at. So Salty, I agree with Salty. I think it's stupid if he didn't slip. But I think he did from what they were showing, personally. Harris should have been making... okay, all right. Whoa, Salty. Now Salty's just trying to make us all... trying to push everyone's buttons, you trolls. Okay. All right. Or you can do anything you set your mind to. Yeah, I mean, Plum Bottom, again, there's absolutely... mind over matter is a very real thing, right? You definitely, if you try very hard, you do stuff. There are definitely some limitations. Absolutely. Biologically sometimes with anyone, right? You can't keep thinking, I'm going to get 500 feet in the air and just suddenly fly, right? That you'd have to be like, okay, I'm going to make a jetpack, right? That if you do that, then there you go, right? But yeah, but definitely, when it comes to swordplay, I really think swords are an equalizer, just like guns, right? Doesn't matter how strong someone is, they get shot in the face, right? And again, that sounds a little harsh, I know, but you get my point. Or stabbed in the face. They kind of did make it that Hera fault that Hammer died with her sneaking out of the fortress. Yeah. So a lot of people, I Wolf Lord does make a point there. I'm not sure how much I liked that. So they don't really explain why he dies. Why Tolkien doesn't explain why he gets frozen. He just explains he keeps going out every night, blowing the horn, killing people, and then one day they find him outside frozen and dead. So in this way, they made it a little bit more epic that he saved his daughter, blah, blah, blah. Now, there's a bunch of stuff about let's talk about the thing real quick, right? The droppy door. Sorry, the droppy door. The ramp and all that whole situation. One thing that I personally would have done, and someone thought in a comment, they thought they did do this, but they should have made it more clear that once he couldn't get in, that he gets surrounded where they couldn't drop a rope or anything, because one person I watched said, oh, they could have dropped a rope, and I'm like, yeah, that's true, they could have tried to help get him up, but he does get kind of surrounded by Dunlendings pretty quickly, right? When he starts fighting, because they run up the ramp right then, so maybe getting on a rope would have been unrealistic anyway, but that fight scene is freaking awesome. It's so well done though. Like, he's just beating the crap out of the... Oh, so good. It's just like... I'm just like so happy about the fight scene though. But a lot of people... One person made a comment that, oh, well, he just chose to, suicide, to go and fight. I was like, I don't think so. And then another person was making a comment I was watching, said, well, that was dumb. 4 guys couldn't use a winch to open... is that what the winch? The winch. That's the right word. Winch. To do the open the gate, and and then Helm could just pull it open with Hera. I never for a second thought that those men stopped trying up there. Clearly they were still trying and got back up and pushing to open it. Well, Helm and them were all pulling too, and they were just able to do it a little bit. That's so funny to me that some people thought that they gave up after they fell over at the top. I'm like, why would they do that? Their king's stuck outside. Of course they're gonna get back up and keep trying to open the freaking gate, right? So funny. I thought, when someone said that, I was like, are you for real? On a chip video I was watching, I was like, that's so silly, you'd think that. Sorry, I always love people's opinions, but that particular one was silly. It's like, of course those guys weren't going to stop trying to open the gate. Helm didn't open the gate, just him and Hera. And even when he closes it, that's the only thing that's a little sus for me, when he tries to close it. that's where I'm like, I'm like, did they close it? Right? Because, like, he probably could have closed it by himself. That's where I would judge a little bit there. But he basically, you know, gets it open. He tries to actually get in. I don't know if you see. He tries to get in. And also, when a lot of people are like, why didn't he go back in the cave where they came from, both of them? It's because the cave got buried by the troll. Right? The troll knocked out a bunch of rocks in front of it. So they didn't have the time because there was an army coming up the slope because they heard the troll roaring, right? So I really think they should have, though, made it where it was a little bit more dire that Helm had to fight right there. And then they do the whole blizzard moment, and then he's frozen outside. But it still was a pretty epic moment. Still pretty awesome. But yeah, anyway. So, but yeah, it does kind of make it seem like Hera's the reason he died. That is true. That's a good point. Salty. Galadriel's like the strongest elf. And Amazon's Rings of Power made her way ready, man. Yeah, they definitely seemed like they were trying to make her like a warrior elf instead of the sorceress, you know, patient person she is in the original story. And by the way, guys, she's not that young in the Rings of Power Amazon, Galadriel. She's really not, guys. She's like, it'd be like being 70 years old and then being 71 years old. She'd be the same. So it's not like she's immature or something. She's the same age, pretty much. If they had told more of the Shield Maiden story, that would have been good. Yeah, I agree. I would have liked to hear a little bit more. Inkling, yes, Nerd of the Rings, yes. Nerd of the Rings unite! Yeah, Nerd of the Rings did a really good video. Again, what I was saying a minute ago on the female warriors of Middle-earth. Very respectful, just what Tolkien says, and covers it. Basically, what he was... you know, if you look at that, you can kind of see where they got the inspiration to make Hera, right? Her character. Salty, I confess, I am highly jaded and cynical. You worked in Hollywood too long. Okay, so, I mean, yeah, so you've been up close and personal with this stuff all the time. So I'm sure you've probably heard what they're trying to insert in the stories too, and probably frustrating for you, I understand. Again, I think there are some, you know, I don't like to lump entire groups of people. I know you like to use the word Hollywood because a lot of people do stuff now that's good. But I mean, Hollywood, you know, 30 years ago was great. All the stories they were having come out of it. And there's still people there that work that are good, right? And that do a good job with things. Absolutely. Because there are things that come out. Like everything does. And again, War of the Rohirrim was really good. And again, they did stuff with the One Piece. A lot of the stuff was there too. Of course, the original person was from Japan who was working on it too. Belbjorn. It was a fun movie. I didn't love it, but it's good. It's Middle Earth, so I was like, the king was pretty much, oh no, an idiot. Oh yeah. Yeah, so I did have a little bit of a feeling where he kind of kept like falling for things, but Tolkien does write that he does send away Freylof and stuff. So he may have been a little bit hard-headed at times. Which is, you know, you'd think he would have been a little wiser at that point with strategy on things, but he does go out and fight them too in the original story. So those are kind of things that Tolkien put in there. So maybe if you go look through history in real life too, there are older kings that made a lot of mistakes like that. It was like either out of, you know, pride, or they wanted to just fight, you know, that kind of stuff. Thank you for liking the stream, guys, too. I appreciate it. The king running around and killing everyone in the camp once he recovered pretty much didn't make his... well, Belbjorn, that is Tolkien. This, that is Tolkien. That's fully Tolkien wrote. So I thought that was my favorite part of the movie. That was like so cool when they're just terrified. He basically does that. Tolkien writes that he's so in grief, which is what they kind of were showing with the whole idea that, oh, he's a wraith. He was so upset with what happened, right? So again, I do like to point out too, a lot of the story is what Tolkien wrote. Like a lot of it is. What Tolkien didn't write was pretty much a lot of what Hera's storyline is. That's why we talk so much about Hera, right? In this talk today, because she's the one that a lot of stuff is made up to link the other stories. But pretty much everything Helm does, Freylof, and the Sons was all what Tolkien wrote, pretty much to the T. That's why I was really appreciative of that, because we got to be clear, the Amazon Rings of Power, even though they didn't have the rights to everything, they changed a lot of stuff in that show. A lot of the original plot lines. And they changed characters' personalities to complete opposites. Again, Galadriel in Amazon Rings of Power, she's like a complete opposite personality of the Galadriel that Tolkien writes about. Tom Bombadil is complete opposite of what Tom Bombadil is in the books. Very disappointed about that. They had one chance. Tom Bombadil was just singing and happy the whole time. But what did they do? He was a serious mentor. Sorry, we're not talking about Amazon's Ring of Power though. We're talking about this. Let's see, Elben. So are you talking about, Elben, are you talking about this comment? You're talking about the part where she makes the comment that she's not in the old legends, blah, 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 when they made that one comment. That was a little weird for me. I thought the idea of that was later that she leaves, right? Kind of leaves the story. And that was kind of a way, cameo, to kind of be like, okay, well, we made up the character, and now she goes off and leaves. And then some people are like, well, why didn't she become queen? Well, clearly, the idea is, we don't know what happened to her in the books for Tolkien wrote, but it's most likely male lineage for kingship in Rohan. So it goes to the cousin Freylof. I'm pretty sure that's what's going on there. And that's good. That's what Tolkien wrote. That's been the case with kingships for a long time. But granted, like even with the English kingship, they changed that rule obviously in 2012. It's just the oldest child, right? Doesn't matter male or female. Obviously the Queen of England was amazing too. She did some amazing stuff. So, all right. I'm sure that helped that decision because Elizabeth was so amazing. All right. See here, I love it that you guys are giving great information. I'm just trying to catch up. Gandalf shall not pass. Hello, sir. Let's see, where was I? Well, they did make their own story. Elben is correct for Hera, but it was only to connect the original canon. That's what I would add to that. My own personal thought. Because how do you link these thoughts, right? So you're like, okay, this happened here. A few months later, we have a battle here. A few months later, we're all at Helm's Deep. Helm kills some guys after his sons get killed. Freezes. And then Freylof comes from Dunhar and saves. So you don't really have, like, any connections. Tolkien didn't write any connections. They were, like, time periods, right, of things that happened. So they made Hera and made their own story, which they did. This is true, what Elben said. They made their own story, but it connects the original stories. They didn't mess with the original stories. So I think that's the way to do it, personally. It's what I argued with Amazon's Rings of Power. I think they should have had all the parts that weren't connected in the storytelling and just made up the made-up parts in between that connected them. I don't know why they didn't do that in Amazon's Rings of Power. Well, I have some suspicions, but we won't get into that. Again, I'm trying to be a moderator guide here, okay, guys? The straw that broke the camel's back was the end, with Hera rides off with her girl. Okay, I didn't... Salty. It's so funny. I feel like, and don't take this the wrong way, Salty, but me and you, I feel like, are looking through very different lenses at this movie, okay? And again, I know I get it, but I did not at any time feel like that the other Shield Maiden was like a girlfriend to Hera at any moment in the movie. That didn't even cross my mind until you just said it just now. She was clearly a motherly figure to her because her mother died. Absolutely. And her mentor. That's always what I thought she was the whole time. Because she's clearly 30 years older than her. She's her mom figure, right? And mentor. another shield made it, and she wanted to go on an adventure again too. That's what I took from that. I never thought that at all. Interesting that you thought that. Again, I'm glad that you have your opinions. I'm just saying, I never thought that. I just that every cross. I'm like trying to think about it now from the movie perspective. Is that, from looking from your perspective? I guess maybe. I never felt that at all with how they said the story. Yeah, I definitely think that happens, Salty. I definitely think we've all felt that sometimes. It definitely seems recently that, sometimes we're just being rejected. Yes, that's of course. But I don't think that's everybody. I think the ending is the weakest point. Thunderstruck. Yeah. I feel like it, especially with her just kind of riding off into the sunset kind of thing. It was, like the ending for me personally that was good was the good ending would have been Freyloff just telling her, you're good job, cousin, things like that. I think Freyloff telling her that, you would have been a good queen. I think that was just fine. I don't think there's anything weird about saying that because he's just being respectful, but clearly he was the one that has the right to be king then. And I think she's respectful back to him. She's like, I kind of want to go on an adventure, which is totally fine. And again, I have another friend. She loves to go on adventures. She goes off-roading. She does all these things by herself. And again, it's not, it's probably not the thing that most women like to do. You guys tell me in the comments to my women viewers. Do you, but I have a few friends that do love that stuff. They like to go off on their own, go camping by themselves, all this stuff. You're always going to get some people who have maybe a different, slight difference than what everyone else likes to do, right? That's life. Missed opportunity for where was Gondor moment in the film. In the case, there were too many busy dealing with Haradrim Corsairs of Wimmer that, yes, so maybe that was like them holding back to not make that joke, Yaki, but that's a very good point. Where was Gondor? That's a very good point. Oh, man. But we do know that in reality, the Gondor was fighting a war themselves too at this point. But yeah, that would have been funny. That would have been funny. Cat also has, is your sister still releasing her book series? I've been reading more. Yes, she's going to be. She's just like she's been trying really hard to finish all the editing for the stuff. So when she does, I will let you guys know when she releases it. Okay, I'm trying. I'm see if we can catch up here a little faster. I'm gonna go a little faster. Ready? Thunderstrike. I would have killed off both Olwyn and Hera and had her an unknown and the bride bride of Rohan. Yeah, I mean that could have worked too. It would have been like a sad ending, but it totally could have worked. Like from a storytelling perspective, you could have just killed off Hera, and they could have both fought Wolf, and maybe they could have done it where she wounds Wolf, and Wolf survives, and then she kind of sees Freyloff return, and Freyloff slays Wolf, like in the original lore, and then he gets to Hera and like, oh no, Hera, and then she's like, I'm glad you saved everyone, and dies, right? That could have worked. It would have been really depressing. And I think, unfortunately, even though us as fans would have been like, yeah, that's great, most people would have been pissed, right, in storytelling. So, again, it's a two-edged sword, guys. We have to remember, like, as much as, like, whenever you write something or make something, and I know this as a content creator, right, you're not going to be able to please everybody, right? I literally, like, for example, with my talking speed, let's talk about this. When I first started my channel, I had people making comments that, like, you're talking too fast. I was like, okay, I'll slow down. Then I had people that are like, you're talking too slow. And then I'm like, okay, I'll talk faster, And I got that all the time. It's like, you're not going to be able to please everybody. But you can try to please the majority of a viewership that already originally likes the story. So that should be the goal. But again, that would have been a good idea too. Interesting idea, Thunder. You can see in the writing that it has a modern viewpoint that one of them that is in the medieval times. If so, then she would stay in Rohan and not have go on an adventure. So, I personally think that as much as... I don't think that's a modern thing. I think there's always probably been a small percent of girls who want to go out and do stuff outside, like throughout history. I don't think it's the majority, but I think there's always been that small percent, right? Even we're talking like gathering tribes, like they're always outside, but like, you know, most of them probably stayed at the village, right? Took care of the children, did all this, you know, things they need to work on, where men were out hunting. But I'm sure there was always one or two women that wanted to hunt too, right? Or fish or whatever. So I don't know if that necessarily just constitutes a modern viewpoint, right? That's what I'm trying to say. I appreciate your opinion though, but I'm saying just for me personally, I don't know if that constitutes, you know, that guys know what that means, right? Like solidifies the fact that that is a modern viewpoint. Are they pushing that more so than in the medieval time? Yes, that's true. But I'm saying in that particular way you worded that. Swords aren't as much of an equalizer as guns. That's true, not as much. They still are, but they're not as much. I agree with that. Salty. They still have an advantage. Well, yeah, especially if you're doing swords fight where you're like, you know, like hitting and like doing strength towards each other. Yeah, of course, it's going to still give an advantage in that way. Absolutely. That is true. I'm more interested in the film. Okay, yeah. They should have a group archers on the ramp to keep the people on the wall pinned. Yes, Inkling, that would have been good for the Helm fight. Yes, I know I'm catching up. I'm behind. Yes, for the fight where Helm, they're like shooting at people up at the wall like archers so that they can't like drop a rope. That would have been really good. Yeah. None of the films have enough archery. Yeah, I would have liked more archery. I agree with Salty. Yes. I think War of the Rohirrim is really good, but I'm comparing it to Lord of the Rings, the gold standard adaptation. Yes, exactly. Really do have some problems, but I think we'll ever get a better adaptation. I do think, at least by Hollywood. Yeah, I do think... I think that we were pretty lucky at how good this one was. And again, I don't want to lower... I'm not lowering my standards. I actually really, really liked it, okay? So my standards are high. But for people who maybe didn't like it, I'm not sure we will get a better one anytime soon. Will we get a live action of Helm Hammerhand in the future? Maybe. Unfortunately, for anime version, I don't think we're going to get any more anime Lord of the Rings things. Just because, unfortunately... I don't think it's probably getting enough money to do that, to justify another one. We'll see. What I'm hoping is The Hunt for Gollum will be really, really good, the live action that Peter Jackson's working on, and that will get huge money again because it's live action. I think it did hurt it that it was anime. I loved it that it was anime, but I think that hurt it, especially maybe more and more Western cultures. Obviously, a lot of us like anime. I know a lot of my viewers do, but not everybody does. I understand that. Of course, for any of my Japanese viewers, I'm sure you guys love anime. Maybe not all of you. Maybe I'm not going to assume. I'm not going to assume and lump people. Maybe they don't. Salty says, I will say, this film is gorgeous. The animation, character design, backgrounds, simply wonderful. It oozes Tolkien Middle-earth authenticity, simply wonderful. Yes, I agree. I think pretty much we all agree on that. My only complaint visually was the horse animations, but those are really hard to animate in anime. But yeah, it was beautiful. Like a lot of the shots they show, I want as my background for my computer. I'm gonna try to get them later. Hera isn't canon; it's fan fiction. Yeah, I would say so. I think it's really well done fan fiction. For my terminologies, I would almost put her into like legends, where like, you know, with like LOTRO, but I would say closer that it's like, for me personally, it was a good fan fiction with what they did with Hera. But yes, I definitely think so, because it's not what Tolkien wrote, so it's considered fan fiction in my definition and in the definition of the dictionary. It's an alt universe. It could be, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, Elbin's right? So like, this isn't like a negative or a positive what Elbin is saying here. Now, maybe Elbin is using it as a negative. That's fine if you are. But for me personally, this isn't a negative or a positive in this particular case, because yes, Hera is made up for the story. It was to link the original story. So is it now canon, and is it the original universe version of the story? Well, no, because he didn't name her, so she maybe didn't really do anything that was important in this case, right? That was made up for the movie. I think it was done really well. Other people don't. That's just fine. I know a lot of us like it. That's great. If you don't, that's just fine too. Salty. But I've said it before, and I'm willing to say it again. War of the Rohirrim got Tolkien. The theme is hope. Yes, that is true. Yeah. This is why we love Jackson's take. The theme is hope, rings of power. There wasn't against... Yeah, Amazon Rings of Power, there's like no hope ever. It's very drama-y. It's very, oh no! Yeah, I was really disappointed with how Amazon did a lot of the stuff on that, personally. It's just like... I cover it mainly because I'm a Tolkien content creator with the Amazon Rings of Power stuff. But, again, I don't hate any... I don't like hate any of the actors or anything, but I just really disappointed with the writing in the Amazon Rings of Power. So for me, maybe for me, since I was looking forward to War of the Rohirrim, I liked it too because it was just so superior to that. But I still liked it a lot, even just as a standalone. We are looking through different lenses. All right, Salty. I already read that though. Not rejecting you, do your duty. Women get choices. Men. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. So there is a little bit of that going around. It seems like in the last few years, absolutely. Again, unfortunately, that kind of leans into political stuff, so I'm not going to go into it personally. But a lot of us know that happens a lot. I tend to feel that people are kind of like getting tired of that either way. So people are kind of going back to like, let's just treat us all as individuals and move on. That's how it should be. But yeah, that's true. I've never seen Rings of Power, only the recaps under the rings. But yeah, love me. Yes, but yeah, I get it. Hello, elf friend. I'm sorry you've been here for like 10 minutes, but I have trying to catch up here on this thing. I'm glad so many people have opinions. I wanted to hear everyone's thoughts. But I prefer, let's see, let's go over here. Company, but I tend to get a lot of flack for not just getting up and going by myself. Please. Elvin. You guys are so funny. Oh man. Wow, that was an hour and 40 minutes. That went fast. So what I'm gonna do here for a few minutes is that I'm gonna get on Lord of the Rings Online, and we could chat for a few more minutes about this stuff while I do a little bit of a daily here for a couple more minutes here. Hold on, I need to... Ooh. Let me switch over real quick here to this screen. All right. You guys can still hear me, right? You can still hear me. You can still not see me. Ha ha. Anyway, I hope you guys have been enjoying this conversation, whether you're watching as a video later or as a stream. I really do like to hear other people's opinions on things and thoughts. Again, my overarching view on it is that I really enjoyed it, and I personally didn't feel the whole Mary Sue vibe or anything about the made-up Hera part. I thought she was really well done as a girl character for once. I know I'm not trying to send that negatively towards girls for once, but lately, like we've been talking about, it seems like a lot of times they're inserted unrealistically, which I find disrespectful to women personally, when they do that. I think that, women have strengths too. And I think there are times, again, like I've already said, that I think there are times that, women will go on an adventure too. and things like that. I don't think it's always the majority of the time. I think usually men are going to be more the ones that are going out and doing adventurous stuff, just because we tend to like to do that more, because guys just like to do that usually more. But it doesn't mean that girls never do it. I think that that's, I don't know why people say that sometimes. Personally, I think that everybody has their things they like and dislike. Here we are in Middle-earth for a minute. And again, I hope that everyone has liked this, and these are all my thoughts and opinions, and I definitely like freedom of speech here on this channel. Even though I obviously temper myself, I don't like to talk about political stuff. So, just for the sake of letting us have a chill, fun conversation, as we talked about at the beginning. All right, so I'm going to do my dailies here real quick, but I need to just open my window. Give me a second. No worries, Thunderstrike. Thank you so much for hanging out and giving your opinions. Hey, that's my wallpaper. I just glad you all play on Quick Hollow. So I actually do have a character on the legendary server, Salty, but so later on you're gonna have to transfer your character off of the Angmar server, so make sure you go to Crick Hollow. Though this next part of this year, they said they were gonna do something with the what was it? Oh, they're going to be adding an update. I don't know if they're going to directly update the other classic servers, or they're going to give us like new classic servers that are legendary to move to, and then like freely be able to move everything. So we're going to find that out later. Yeah, thank you so much, you guys, for those of you who hung out. We're going to hang out for probably another 25 minutes or so, and I'm going to do some dailies. Look at this beautiful Middle-earth. Let me go ahead and crack my window here. All right. There we go. All right, and I'm back. Hello. Back visually, it's at least. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to work on a couple things here. Whoop. There we go. We'll just do that. All right, let me get on my horse here. I think these are good conversations, though. I really think that people should be able to talk about these things. I think a lot of times, when it comes to stuff, that a lot of people are afraid to have conversations like what we've been having today, because they're afraid they're going to be called names, or like people are going to think stuff about them and stuff like that. It's like, we really can't do that if we want to have freedom of speech. We have to be able to have conversations, right, and let people like voice their opinions on things. And again, I really do think it comes down to when it comes to culture, that we should be able to kind of moderate things ourselves. We don't have to insert things, you know what I'm saying? Like, we need to learn what is good to say or not good to say, right, as a group. It's just normal, right? But because, you know, if someone says something that everyone doesn't like, then we just don't listen to that person, right? If someone says something and a bunch of people like it, well, then maybe everyone agrees with that, right? That's kind of how it works. All right, let's go ahead and move on here. All right, so I'm going to blow some stuff up. I worked really hard on my Lore Master the other day. Love the Angmar server. Yes, nice, very nice indeed. Angmar is awesome. Wee! Ah. Die, you bug. So I upgraded my Lore Master the other day, and I put in a bunch of work and basically made him a bunch of gear with essences. Basically put months of work and time into him in like one day. And basically I did my damage, my crit chance went up to, I think it was like 18%. It's even higher right now, but because of my ability. Yeah, it's 18% and instead of 14, and my damage went from like 140% damage to 193.7, and he's got like an extra 50,000 HP. So he's much stronger now. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and beat some stuff up here. But again, to finish it up too, for people watching later as a video, or you know, you're here live. If people, I'm really impressed later if people you watch this whole video with how long our talks were. But oh, hello. Are you guys doing the dailies too? We're all waiting for the lizard to spawn. But I really what was I gonna say? My brain is turning off. Clearly my brain is tired after all these deep conversations. Haven't played since 2009. Yeah, I don't think that right now necessarily the weaponsmith or the woodworker is that great. There's certain things they're good at. There is certain things they're good at. These guys want credit? I want to make sure this guy gets credit. Alright, I'm gonna blow it up. Oh gosh, I'm gonna die. There we go. Alright. Done. Yeah. Anyway. Fun times. So we're going to be doing a couple other things today. Later today, I'm going to have to wake up my brain because I'm actually going to do a legendary items workshop. Speaking of that, Salty. I don't know if you got your whole day to spend time with us, but I'll be doing a legendary item workshop in an hour? Yeah, in about an hour and 10 minutes, which is why we'll finish up here pretty soon. That should be helpful for anyone who has questions about legendary items, that kind of thing. I would say with crafting is what I was talking about, is really good crafting things are like scholar, jeweler, metalsmith still good, tailor. I don't think these are bad. So basically weaponsmith and weaponsmith gives you access to making certain special items, but not like too many, right? So you can make like the burglar items, and you can make you can also make obviously essences, but everybody can do that. There's also like the guardian shield spikes I can make. Ooh, cool. That's awesome. 8% crit chance. Gosh, I gotta make those for my guardian. Those are kind of awesome. But things like that, like it definitely there's still stuff that's good for the weaponsmith and the woodworker, clearly, but it's not like as much use as you would get out of the other things from my personal feel on what using them for a long time now. Technically I do have this guy at pretty high level weaponsmith, obviously, but he's not high level as in the respect for the guilds. I have to work on the guild respect. That's where a lot of the work comes in. It takes a long time. My main character is a jeweler, tailor, and metalsmith. Dude, I just crushed that tree. I did like 500,000 damage in 1 second. Yeah, so lore masters are insane in Redline now. They're so busted. I love them. It's so much fun. I really like my lore master, my room keeper. Obviously, my main is a guardian, and I do enjoy my guardian. And now he's set up for tanking. I have him really strong. I probably could make him even stronger, but he's definitely pretty awesome. I need to work on giving him some more max morale. He's getting there. He's almost 300,000 health, though, so. Oh, no, I want credit. I want credit for the... I want credits. Give me credits. There. Now I'll get credits. All right. Lightning strike! There's a lot of people doing the daily. What the heck? What the heck? There's like... I've seen like 6 people. It's kind of crazy. Lore Masters OP. Yeah, Lore Masters are really good. They're basically, they have crazy high damage with the rework. They have the pet says, I don't really use my pet really because like, also the CC tree now is really strong too for doing stuff. But the pet's still really strong. The pet's insane now how powerful it actually is. Alright, let's go ahead and start this up. I'm gonna cast some embers. These guys are gonna kill it pretty quick. I want to be able to cast these embers out. So I'll use my lightning strike and this should finish him up. Dead. Alright, so then we are gonna... I want to try to keep up with these people. I want to get credit for the bird! So basically, if you guys don't know what I'm doing the daily they're called the proto quests, the proto beasts, and they give you a choice. They give you a bunch of legendary item, umbar, a gift for the guild things, and then some virtue experience, some Healy pots, which is great. And also it gives you the choice of a tracer, an enhancement rune, embers of enchantment for gear, or crafting materials, which I use I get the crafting materials. So it gives you 10 of anything. Like it can be, you know, ore, hides, gems, like all that kind of jazz. And then when you do a certain, let's see, lightning bolt. I kept the aggro the whole time because I use so much damage. Alright, so I'm done. I'm going to go turn on my 5 quests, choose my stuff. Basically, there's a few other things I do on the dailies, so I'll just show you as I'm talking about it. That then I, if I'm on my prospector, I'll get all these mines, but being attacked by monstrous guys. They're all over the place. Work, what is this sorcery? Alright, bye Plum Bottom. Thanks for hanging out. Good luck at work. Thank you for chatting with us, giving your opinions.
Greetings, kind traveler. Fair winds to you. Hoi. Hoi.
And I just like all the crafting materials. So once those are turned in, then I go over here, and if the daily is ready for me, all right. So then you go to the crafting. So these are for, again, the allegiance system is what these ones are for. I usually end up putting them in my shared storage for my other character because I'm trying to finish his allegiance. So I will usually just toss them in. Ooh, an XP rune. I'll just put that in the XP tree. Get the rep. Stat tome. Oh, sweet. Sweet, I can choose a stat tome. That's awesome. Let's see. I'm actually gonna keep this for later. I don't want that. Alright, this is gonna go in here. I play this game under protest. Rangers should have been a class. Yeah, I think the reason they didn't make a ranger is because the hunter is inspired from Rangers, and the reason they made it a hunter is because they didn't want to use the same terminology as World of Warcraft. That's why. That's my gut feeling. I don't know if that's the truth. I've never asked the devs. I could ask them. Why did we not use hunter as ranger? Because hunters are rangers. That's what they are. Like, that's everything they do. They shoot their bows. They can fight with dual wielding. They track things, right? I'm gonna get my ores here. I can choose any kind of ore I want, but I want particularly this kind of ore. All right, so we'll put these here. Let's see, sea tossed skins. Let's see if I usually turn these in, and is my daily? Okay, the weekly hasn't reset. So normally there's a weekly thing. You can do 10 tasks for every character, and you will get a universal crafting item that basic, or not universal. It's a crafting item that gives you a 100% chance to crit something. It's very handy for doing certain special recipes. So that's another good daily thing you can do in the game. Let's see here, and we want this, and we want this ore. There we go. The rest of these I'll put here for my other character. I'll organize it once I get to my other character. And then normally at this point I would go, oh, it is. Oh, it is. Task at hand. It is ready. Okay. So there we go. So this one is the universal daily. Or sorry, is it weekly? I forget. So complete 10 tasks. And you get the universal... oh, it is universal. Optional crafting ingredient, which gives you a 100% chance to crit something. Which is very helpful when you're making special gear that's really expensive to make. So I will actually turn in all of them, because you can do this on every character. And if you can do it every other day if you only have 5 task slots, but if you spend 100 mithril coins, which is kind of a lot, but you can make it where your character forever has 10 on that character task slots. So then you can just get it done in one go, which is what I'm going to do right now. Let's hear carry-alls. All right, small task carry-alls. Let me just take out my task carry-alls. It should do it straight from the bags, which is nice. All right, so with that, I'm just going to go ahead and accept anything that it'll let me turn in. There we go. All right. Oop. All right, I'm actually out of the pitted axes, so I'm going to decline that one, and I'm going to get this one. Use that. There we go. All right. There we go. So again, I want to finish. So that's 5 tasks. And again, the nice thing is these are also giving me legendary item experience, which is going towards my legendary item track. So if you go into your character and you go into legendary item track, this is where the monthly thing that you can just get free loot, basically, for legendary items. So that's basically what I'm working on right now as well. So this is a good way. You kind of get like 3 things done at once. It's very handy in that way. So almost there. Also, it gives you a lot of experience. So if you're almost level 150 and you do this, it will... I actually leveled up my Lore Master doing this the other day, a whole level. All right, there we go. And I got a universal crafting, and there I am. I'm all finished there, and I'm going to go back into shared storage. I'm going to drop these in for... Oh, nope, not there. Into my organized slot here for my other character. And at this point, I would go craft. But then usually what I do is I also go grab my other thing. I like to go to my main kinship house and grab some stuff as well. Oh, you're right. Salty, you're right. You're right. I was thinking they used the term ranger. Isn't there a game that uses the term ranger, an MMO? They should have used ranger. I wonder why they didn't use ranger. Now I'm really curious. I should ask the devs sometime. Next time I just message them. Be like, hey, we have a question. Why do they use hunter and not ranger? And are we ever going to get a ranger class? It would be kind of cool. I feel like, you know what they should do? A ranger class should specialize in doing sword fight, like with a 2-handed sword and a bow and crossbow. Like specialty in both. Like where they're not the best at either, but they like specialize in both. And maybe they can go stealthy, slightly like a burglar. So they're like a cross class with everything else, but maybe not quite as good as the others in their particular field. That'd be kind of cool. That would be kind of cool, wouldn't it? But yeah, you got a good point. I forgot. I was thinking they used the term ranger. I don't know why. Is there an MMO that uses the term ranger that I'm not remembering? That's the question. Rangers summoning animal companions. Neverwinter Nights. Also, good morning. Hello, Ice. Hello, welcome. Welcome to the stream. So we talked about the War of the Rohirrim for a long time. Like an hour and 50 minutes. So now at the end here, we're just kind of chilling for a few minutes while I do some dailies and answer any other questions. Ice, did you already see the War of the Rohirrim? Again, we talked about lots of spoilers in this stream. So, warning if you watch it later. Yeah. Well, no, Rangers in Lord of the Rings were... there's the Rangers of Gondor, that's true, but there's also, like, Aragorn and the Rangers of, like, the Dunedain. Basically, it's like a profession or group of, like a guild in Lord of the Rings, in general, in the storytelling. Alright, so I'm going to go to the island, and I'm going to go shock some stuff with my roomkeeper. Gonna go shoot some lightning bolts. Lightning bolts! Lightning bolt, lightning bolt, lightning bolt! Nice. Very nice. What's your favorite part about it? Alright, so I'm gonna go ahead and pick up these quests real quick. Would you? Oh, there we go. I like the Rangers from the Rangers Apprentice books. Oh, yes. I have heard of those. I have not read those, but I have heard of those. Indeed. Alright, so let me go ahead and we'll go ahead and go shock some enemy combatants here. Ride, my little horse. Ride like the wind. Alright. Prepare to die, lizard. Lightning bolt! 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 And crit! Yeah! 200,000 damage. Take that. Lightning. Oh my gosh, I just murdered that thing. 900,000 damage in like what? 10 seconds? I will say though, I am so much squishier than my Guardian. My Guardian can't kill that fast, but boy can he take the beating. Nice. Oh, I'm glad you liked that part. Yeah, I actually, again, we were talking about, like, in reality, like, obviously, Hera is technically, she's not in the lore, right? But she connects the original good lore. And so she's, like, more of a fan fiction. But I really like how they did. I think they did a good job with her character. Sweet. I crit. Yeah, he's right on top of me. All right, epic conclusion, guys. Oh, I didn't crit. Darn. All right, well, he's down. It's hard to see what I'm hitting. He's so big. What do you think you're doing? He's like, oh no! Get out of here. That's what you get. Never sneak up behind a Runekeeper, guys. You get a lightning bolt to the chest. It's a good rule of thumb for a life lesson. What's up, Ragsanul? Yes, you can, what was your favorite part? We can still talk more about War of the Rohirrim. I was just basically doing dailies. We talked like pretty much for an hour and 45 minutes straight, so I thought I'd do some dailies so we have something to look at while we talk. Also, I think my brain was getting overloaded, tired. I thoroughly enjoyed myself, but I had to do something else. Ooh, spicy damage. Gee, man. Gosh, Runekeepers are just menaces to society. Look at them. Just like The Society of the Crabs. Just like, do they give crafting ingredients, these guys? The only thing is the crabs are pretty good against Runekeepers because of their burst damage, and they get a reduction for the first little bit of damage they take. But once their shell is cracked, they're pretty much dead. It's like zapping them all. Yeah, gosh, Runekeepers are awesome. I haven't even given my Runekeeper an update with gear. Like, so he's at 170% of damage here. If I had the same stuff I had from my Lore Master, I could have him up to 193% damage, which my goal is to do, but I have to keep doing these dailies and get my more gear and crafting items, or that'll never happen. Also, I got to do my crafting dailies too, which I can show you guys what those are, but if I don't do that, I won't get universal crafting ingredients, which are used for, or solvents they're called. They're used for making essences, which you need a lot for one character. In fact, that's one thing that I think is worth buying on the store. They have a set, it's 700 LOTRO points for 25 universal solvents. And sometimes it goes on sale. So if it does, that's very worth it. If you're a big crafter like I am, since I'm our kinship guild leader, I kind of craft for other people too, not only my own characters. You really have to have a lot of those, because you need 3 of them for the best type of essence. So, and let's say one piece of gear has 3 essences on it, you're talking 9 of them. So like, even buying those 25, you're already like only making 1 piece of gear with the best essences. So yeah, you don't really have to use all of the best essences though for all the gear slots, because every essence gives a certain special low-level one, so you can make the cheaper ones that's the same across all boxes. But yeah, you guys don't probably care about this at this moment. So, War of the Rohirrim. What else are we talking about? Yes, Ice. That is what Awen said. Which, by the way, is all Tolkien. That is all Tolkien, because if you guys remember, Tolkien is the one that makes it very clear about, he made up the Shield Maiden idea, right? And the whole idea was, the reason that they do the things they did, the Shield Maidens, is because all of the soldiers died. So who's going to protect the land? Who's going to protect the kids, right? So, I mean, and knowing any good mom, or any, you know, they're like, all right, well, I guess we're fighting. We might die, but here we go. Let's train and get our gear, right? And that's where the whole idea of the Shield Maidens started, right? But I mean, that's all Tolkien's idea of the Shield Maidens. That was not made up for the War of the Rohirrim, clearly. That was up. So they were just building on that a little bit. Again, Hera as a character, like what she does is made up, right? We know she existed, but she didn't have a name, and she didn't do all that stuff in the original lore. But it tied together the original lore very well without messing with the original lore, which I appreciate. I was really worried they were just gonna mess with all of like Helm's lore and just totally rewrite it. And be like, oh yeah, he doesn't die. Just kidding, Theoden doesn't become king. My tipping. Yeah, Runekeepers do a lot of damage. It's kind of crazy. And granted, I have the level gear, which does start pretty nice. I also have really good legendary items set up, which is what we're going to be talking about in my next stream in 45 minutes. Or is it 4 o'clock? I don't remember what I did in my next stream. But I probably should wrap this one up in a few minutes there. So I can take a little break. Alright, let me turn these in real quick. Bum-ba-dum-ba-dum. Longer nights these days. Tomorrow is the longest one. Oh, really? Oh, that's true, the time of year.
Fine day indeed. Greetings, kind traveler. Fair winds to you. It is a fine day indeed.
Thank you very much.
Oi!
Oh, winter is coming. Winter is coming. I just realized, I'm so sorry, guys. I don't have the chat box open on this one. I apologize. All right, here's what I'm reading. Catch everybody up. All right. Anyway, I'm glad that you guys enjoyed it too, Helm and everybody. Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised. Again, I appreciated in this stream hearing everyone's different opinions on it, and people who didn't like it. I appreciate people who came who didn't like it, who knew I liked it, and gave their thoughts. I appreciate that. I really want it to be, you know, I want the channel to be as respectful to each other. I don't really want it to become a battle over, you know, that's why we kind of stay away from politics if possible. And, you know, but I appreciated that people have different thought than the content creator. You know, I want to hear people's thoughts. That's the whole point. That's why we did this today, right? It was very fun, and hearing everyone who liked it too. I love hearing everyone's thoughts in between too. Again, I know I'm pushing this a lot, but we are very unique creatures. God designed us, and we all have different thoughts in our brains, and we can have different feelings on different subjects at the same time, right? Like, I feel like a lot of times it's like people think they hear one thing someone thinks, and they lump them into a group of people or a certain belief, and they're like, oh, they probably think all these things. It's like, that's not how that works. I understand why people do it, right? It's kind of just a natural thing to kind of categorize things in our minds, but it's like, yeah, it doesn't always work like that. We're very complex. Sometimes people might agree with one thing and disagree with something else that you would have thought they might have agreed on too, right? All right, I'm turning in my tasks there. It's gonna be saying I'm turning in tasks for the next like hour. All right, 3 more. I kind of wish they'd make it where you could click this a little faster. Like, just say complete, instant complete. But I see why they do it, because again, normally you'd only just turn one at a time in, but I just have all the stuff ready to go. All right. Oh, getting invited. Oh, what's going on over here? What's going on? Are we running an instance? Oh my gosh. I can't leave, we're running an instance. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Elf. Yes, I agree. Yeah, exactly. It's like you want to go into the things that people want to talk about and listen to. Yeah, but you also want to be like, there's definitely one thing that was really cool in the movie that I liked was when, again, spoilers, Helm, if you notice when she falls asleep by his side, worried about him when he's kind of in grief or whatever, his eyes last second go and open up when he's sleeping. I didn't notice that until the second time I watched the movie. It's awesome. And then also a lot of people missed the fact, because it was really fast. I understand why people missed it. A lot of people missed the fact that, oh gosh. Oh, the cave collapsing from the troll. A lot of people are like, why did they run to the gate? Why did he say the only way back in is the main gate? That's so silly. Like, he could have just gone back in the way they came, in the secret tunnel. Well, the problem was that the tunnel had been collapsed by the troll, and there was an army coming up because the troll was going, "Brah!" and everyone was coming up. So he's like, okay, let's just run to the gate as fast as we can. So, like, that made sense to me. That whole scene I really liked. I still like the whole scene, even though if I'm being my more critical glasses on with my little, like, yeah, well, there's a couple things I would have adjusted in showing to make some things seem a little bit more like that had to happen. But I still think that scene was awesome. Exactly, Ragson. Yes, well, that's why we had this chat today. I thought it was a really fun chat. We had no fighting. Everything was great. That was the whole goal. I want people to be respectful. I want to have fun talking about it. At the very beginning of this video, I said, you know, I want people to be able to you know, have their opinions. We can agree on things, we can disagree, and we can agree to disagree on things, right? We can just have fun talking about it. Because I agree with Gregson. I mean, it's probably why you watch my channel, right? I really like to just have conversations. I don't want to rage over things. People can have their opinions. They can rage if they want to over things, right? They can be frustrated, they can whatever. They can be super happy. They, you know, whatever opinions they have, great. But I want everyone to be able to come together and just have fun talking about the movie. Because I still had a lot of fun talking about it, right? And again, as much as I was answering certain people's questions and what people were doing and stuff, I thought, and I was kind of moderating this whole stream, I didn't really give my full, I have my full review video. You can watch the hour and 20 minutes of my thoughts on the whole movie. But really, in general, I really enjoyed The War of the Rohirrim myself. It was super fun, super well done. I personally think it was a faithful adaptation to Tolkien. I mean, and again, a few of my friends have that same feelings. Men of the West, Joyston has those feelings. Nerd of the Rings said that on his Twitter, that he thought it was a faithful adaptation and good. I really think it was. And again, we're big Lord of the Rings fans. You might have noticed. So we are channels, right? But, you know, I can still respect people that have different thoughts on things. But I really don't think there was any agendas put into the movie. I didn't feel that. There's one or two little tiny things here and there. And again, I was being scrutinous when I first watched it. I enjoyed watching it the second time because I knew it was good and I could just enjoy and watch little tiny things. But the first time I was looking like, you know, did they mean something else by that? You know, that kind of stuff. I was doing that the whole time with my mind. And I really enjoyed it. I just really thought it was awesome. It was super fun. Rage against the Rohirrim. Killing is in the name, Eomer. Or disagree to agree. Yeah, Rex, so that's the fourth way to say it, yes. Or disagree to agree. Oh, that's funny. Bum, bum, bum. Okay, so we're gonna do an instance real quick here. On, to agree to disagree to agree. Oh man! So we can agree on something. We can disagree. We can agree to disagree, or we can disagree to agree. How profound. Are we at Bree? There it is. Here we go. Whoosh. We whoosh off. Yes, Salty. Yes. Yeah, definitely. I could not agree more with you, Salty, on that. He said, I'm just glad War of the Rohirrim got the whole theme of all of Tolkien's works. Like the theme of like the hope and like all that. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. See, and that's the fun part, too. I really think it's fun to pick apart movies and have conversations. I've always been the person that I just... People can do this. That's fine. Their choice. But it bothers me when people are just like... They're just like, yeah, it was terrible. Or, yeah, it was, you know, everything was perfect. And they just don't tell you why. It's like, I want to hear why. You know what I mean? I want to hear why someone likes or dislikes something. We're somewhere in the middle because the majority of us are somewhere between the extremes, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the majority of us, right? I definitely tend to lean somewhere in the more of the liking sphere of really liking it, closer to that side. But I definitely still, as just a review of it, there's things like, oh, I think this could have been redone or blah, blah, blah. You know, that kind of stuff. All right, I'm about to shoot some lightning bolts, guys. Lightning bolts. Oh, excuse me. Come in. We're gonna get that. Did they fix it? Oh, good. They fixed the little laggy thing that happens right there. All right, here we go, team. You guys ready for me to shoot some lightning bolts? Ragson wise one. Well, I appreciate it. It's, whatever you do, just don't ever try to stop learning. That's where you fail. And in all things, for me personally, you know, if I'm really confused on something, I pray about it. Ask for help from the really wise one. Alright, here we go. So this is Storvagun, the traitor. So, and this guy's angry that he's not listening to his commands anymore. And this guy's like, don't worry. They will not lay a hand on you because I will send you into the void! Alright, here we go. Ready? And I'm gonna shoot a lightning bolt at him. Lightning bolts! Ooh, 200,000 damage. Not bad, not bad at all. That's a lot of electrical sounds. I'm gonna turn it down for you guys. There, is that a little bit better on your ears? Oh, this is not looking so hot. Someone has died. Whoa. We need to clear some of these ads. Trying to get rid of some of the ads. This is tier 2, by the way, so it's not like the hardest, but it's way harder than normal. Alright. Chaos is happening. Hey you, don't touch me. There, just freeze him. Oh, I lost the boss. There he is. Gotta get a heal on our bear there. Yikes, this is quite the thunder battle, man. Alright, I'm focusing. I will look at the comments again in a moment. Lightning bolts! Oh, I'm shooting the ad. Whoops. That's okay. I might just finish this ad off real quick. Gosh, man, there's such big targets. That's the hardest thing. You're like, look it up. You don't really have to look up. You can just look at their bases and click on them and use tab. But I'm trying to make it cinematic here. I'm going to interrupt him here real quick. There we go. All right, back on the boss. Freeze him. Stun him. Lightning bolts. Could have got another good crit off. It's quite a battle. There we go. I'm gonna deal with the guy killing me right now. There we go. Here, I got him. Alright. Back on the boss here. I'm gonna just put this guy to sleep. Oh, he put me to sleep. That was so troll. Right when I tried to stun him, he put me to sleep. Alright, he's at really low. I'm gonna try to kill the boss here. Just gonna kite around, try to kill the boss as fast as I can here. There it is. Boss is down. Sweet! We did it! Woohoo! Boss has been defeated. Woohoo! Ah ha ha! Well done, everyone. That was entertaining. Yeah. He said, don't make him run all over the place. Yeah, that is hard. Yeah, that was a good. We did it though. We did it. All right, wonderful, wonderful work here. Did we loot already? Oh, there. Now we got it. Okay. Ooh, what did I get? Ooh! Oh man, that's an awesome bracer for healing. Wow. Wow. 1200 outgoing healing. Sweet! I've got a healing item now for with my Runekeeper when I'm healing. That's awesome. Alright. Cool. It's a pretty awesome item I just got. Very happy about that. So when I heal with this character, I can do that. Alright. Alright, well with that, yeah. I know. So like compared to the Amazon series, it was a masterpiece. Yeah, that's kind of like, yeah. I mean, if you're comparing there, I think that's low stat. Like, yeah. I don't mean to be mean, right? Again, some people really like the War of the Amazon series too, and there are parts I enjoyed. Again, like all things, I'm not just a full hater of anything. I wouldn't even say I'm a hater the way I covered it, but there's definitely a dislike with a lot of the stuff they did for me, and it just doesn't really feel the Tolkien vibe for me. But even with that out of the way, not using that, it's using the trilogy as the standard. I still think the War of the Rohirrim holds up, not at the level of the trilogy, but it's like, it's something I'm going to watch every year. You know, like, kind of like, you know, you put something on for Christmas, like, oh, my favorite, I'm going to be watching that all the time. Like, it's because it's one I just want to watch, you know. Super fun. All right, anyway, definitely going to be one of those classics for me, and probably many fans, hopefully. I'm really hoping the Hunt for Gollum will be amazing, too. But anyway, with that, my friends, I'm going to go ahead and finish up the video here. Or the stream. I keep saying video. Stream. I will be right back, I think in like 30 minutes, unless my stream is scheduled for a different time. We're going to be doing legendary item stuff. So, yeah. I'm going to go ahead and turn that off here for a second. And we'll just flip over here real quick to this. Whoop. So again, I want to thank everybody for being here today and giving your thoughts and views on the movie. Zollin's personal opinion overall is I thought it was freaking awesome. I thought it was a masterpiece. I was so glad that she wasn't a Mary Sue and Kara, and that I was really glad that they used the original lore of the main characters and they didn't mess with it. And they just linked it together with the made-up lore that they made. Or the made-up, legends, fan fiction, whatever you want to call that, from what I cover in my videos, right? How I terminology use things. For canon is really just what Tolkien wrote, obviously. But I really liked it. The music was awesome. The visuals were awesome. I think the storytelling was pretty good. I think it would have been fun to build up the characters more, like their personalities. But again, with the way they did it, and it's just kind of the storytelling with how even Tolkien wrote it, I don't think that was really a huge possibility. The Eagles were cool, even though I probably could have used without them, personally. There's a couple spots and a couple lines that I probably wouldn't have put in, but I didn't think they were the end of the world. And again, I still think that one line that a lot of people don't like that he said to Hera about you can rule the world, I don't think he was implying that go rule the world. I really think it was more of a read between the lines, but again, if you're doing it at face value, yeah, then maybe not as my favorite line if it's face value. But I didn't feel that was what it was when I watched it. Just the emotion, the way the characters' faces were animated in that moment and stuff. But yeah, it was really good. Thank you for all your opinions, guys, and thoughts that you guys thought as well. I'd really love it. I want this community to always be you're having fun and I'm having fun. Lord of the Rings, being happy and positive. And again, even if you're someone who doesn't like something, as long as you're being respectful and in a nice way and talking about it with us, that's what I want it to be about. I want it just to be fun. I like to hear people's thoughts and opinions. I appreciate it. The couple little mentions of stuff I had throughout the stream with talking about how the reasons why I don't really talk about. We try to stay away from the political stuff. It's not that I don't have my views and thoughts on things in life and things, but I want it to be where we can kind of just all have fun and chat about things in other ways. So I restrained myself, even though I reserve the right to say what I want because it's my channel. But I wanted to be fun for you guys, and I wanted to be fun for me. So that's why, we get that stuff enough. And again, I can see the different, it really helped me today with a lot of what you guys were saying, because I can see some stuff through like the different lenses of our experiences, right, in life and like what we've dealt with, right? We're going to have similar things, but again, we're all unique. We're going to have many different varying opinions on things all throughout. It's not just like these little tiny group camps, which I hate it when that happens. I don't like the extremes of things. I think people are allowed to have those opinions. I don't want to stifle people's freedom of speech, right? But I feel like it's more fun if we can have a fun conversation about things. That I'm like really enjoying it, right? And I hope you guys are too. That's the goal. Alvin, I'm an old man. You're not that old. Salty. Dude. Again, that is, that's totally fine. I already explained my feelings at the beginning of the stream on why I think she was the right choice when it comes to storytelling. But I think there's some legitimate conversations on why didn't they just use Freylof? Again, it's because of the lore. They would have had to break what Tolkien wrote. But they could have. And I think it would have been in a way that people would have been okay with. But you never know. Maybe people would have complained about that then, right? Let's think of, and again, I'm not saying people are ungrateful or something that's stupid. People should be able to like or dislike something. It shouldn't be, if any moviegoer doesn't like something or does, let's say, and then our producer blames them for not liking it, that's pretty silly. It's that's up to the individual. Do the best with your movie. Not everybody's gonna like it, as any creator of anything, and just do your best. And if people like it, sweet, right? Again, in this case, I really liked it. I really enjoyed the War of the Rohirrim myself. I thought it was very well done, very fun. I will cover it more in the future when it comes out, where I can get clips, not play clips on YouTube because I can't, but images. I want to talk about certain scenes and stuff, critique it for fun, things like that. I think that's fun to do. So we'll do that in the future since I enjoyed it so much. But until that time, that'll probably be a month or two until they come out with a collector's box or something, which I will get. But yeah, for me, it was very refreshing. It was a lot like the One Piece live adaptation. It just felt really, really good. And yeah, I'm very happy about it in my Rohan armor, Theoden armor. Elven, I'm actually pretty old. Elfriend's like, not as old as me, I'm an elf. Anyway, well, I appreciate it. We have all ages that are on this channel too. And again, I love it that we have girls and guys alike, and because I can see the little statistics. Now, granted, it on YouTube, I think it just generically does a certain age if no one puts it, a certain age with like just male. I think it just that's the auto put. So sometimes maybe it's not totally accurate, but for people who actually update that, I can see the statistical data, which is kind of cool. So we got people, teens, which is great. Glad to have you guys here all the way. We have people who are in their 80s. It says, it doesn't tell me exact. It tells me like, from 70 to, 85, and from like, 50 to 60. And like, that's how it does it with the algorithm when it tells me. But yeah, awesome. That's the goal. We love Tolkien here. We love having fun talking about it. And, again, one of my goals here on the channel is always to be a voice for Tolkien, and then a voiceover series, right, on my channel, me being Voice of the Rings, and then also, making a voice for other people to be able to talk to and hang out and fun. There's lots of ways you can play on words with that with Voice of the Rings, which is kind of fun. Never thought about it when I made it, but now that I, look at it. Again, yes. So, with that, my friends, have a great day in Middle-earth. Thanks to my Patreons. Thank you, Red, for being a real guard. If you guys ever want to support in that way, you feel the means or inklings, awesome. No obligation, but you can check it out down there. You can also just join Patreon for free. That's it too. But I really love it if you follow me on X and Facebook too. I'm trying to build those as well. And like and subscribe. Those are free still. All right, guys. I will be back with another stream in just a little while. Not very long. Gonna be doing some LOTRO legendary items. So with that, guys, great movie. That's it for Roar the Rohirrim for a while for streams and videos, but I will be making more stuff on that in the future. Just not for the next few months. See you soon.